cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know.
And here we are at the end of the bridge. That gets the adrenaline going. Okay, I tried to go live, just cannot get enough signal out here to go live. Here I am at the south.
Good morning. Get in here and grab a cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know.
This is the western route down the hill, which I'm using here with no trespassing signs. There's something decent on this side, so we're going to go down here and try not to fall on my ass.
Good morning. Get in here and grab a cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything.
This embankment here with the ladder so
Good morning.
Well, first,
Get in here and grab a cup of joe.
the last hour of the shift, you can't search for going 5:30 to 6:30. He stopped here and looked around for
Good morning. Get in here and grab a cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know.
people live differently. It is secluded over here.
Good morning. Get in here and grab a cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday morning. Good morning, Salty. I know she's in the background putting, bringing me an audio call so we can talk about that first. Got a few things we want to go over today, but I hope you're having a good Saturday morning. Last night was a good Friday night. I worked on a live. I did a live. I appeared on live with Miss Shorty, and we talked about Lori Vallow Daybell, and we talked about the Mormon Church. And it was a fascinating conversation. So if you haven't had the chance to see that, Forrest, if you get a chance, I would greatly appreciate dropping in Miss Shorty's YouTube channel. She is amazing. She has amazing energy, and she did a good interview. But we're going to talk about a couple of other things. And the very first thing I want to talk about, because I was on the live with Miss Shorty, I couldn't drop in for all of the conversation about the Idaho 911 call, the Idaho 4911 call.
Okay, so I just sent you that link I was telling you about, but before we go any further, let me say I did go back and catch the live with Shorty on replay, and you guys did a good job.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I did. I went back and watched it last night, so I do recommend people go over and check that out for sure.
Yeah, you know, I struggle sometimes when people ask me questions that are like deeply personal to me to answer them honestly, but I can't help myself but to answer them honestly. So I like went into some things that were like deeply personal about my experience in the Mormon Church. So.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciated that because I'm the same way. You know, if I'm going to talk about something, I'm going to be honest about it, you know, and you're the same way, and you were opening up, and, you know, so like I said, it was a really good interview, and it gives people good insight for sure. So y'all go check it out.
Yeah, and everybody's got to figure things out for themselves, you know, and I had to figure things out for myself, and that's just how I figured it out, right or wrong or indifferent. I don't know. I don't know, but
I think a lot of people also in different religions, being raised in certain religions or whichever, you know, religion it may be, at some point as they get older and can, you know, they may not have the same feelings they once held about their church. Or even, you know, I have a good friend who does raise her kids in church, you know, and they are a big part of their church, but the kids now, they're adults, they don't attend church. You know, so I think it happens with every religion. And so, but you're right. You have to get there on your own, right?
Yes. Well,
Especially
you
in the
should.
Mormons, because it seems so, you know, being shunned from them and being, what is it when they kick you guys out? I mean, I forgot
Excommunicated. That has
the
been
right. I mean,
excommunicated. Yes.
yeah, there's like a lot of different aspects there that aren't in other religions, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the defining characteristic of a cult. If you are
Hmm.
not allowed to think for yourself and figure things out for yourself.
Exactly.
If you were just told this is what you are supposed to believe and this is how you are supposed to practice, and just do it and practice it without ever questioning it. Don't ever question it.
Kind of like these YouTube streets.
Right?
I'm not
Oh
even
my
joking right
gosh.
now. Look,
No.
I just decided last night that when it comes to YouTube and like Idaho 4 or even Delphi, the truth is a lie and the lie is a truth. Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, like, when did that actually happen? I don't know.
Young Black Economist, good to see you in here. Low Light Recovery, good to see you in here. Forrest, it's good to see everybody this morning. I appreciate y'all being here with
Yes.
us.
Welcome in on a good Saturday morning. I hope y'all all had a good
Salty,
night.
where did you post that link? Because I don't see it in Discord.
Private DM maybe? And
I don't.
oh, I'll have to go back and look in. Well, shit. I thought I sent it right to your private DM. Let me go look again to see. Because I sent you the one that the news media posted. We also have the one that Gray Hughes did, where he just enhanced the audio to where you can hear it a little better. You can pick up a little more from it, but not terribly too much more. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
from what I hear on the streets, Gray is out there striking people who have played his content. Now, this has nothing to do with Idaho 4. This is coming out of the Delphi case, and it's something I've been looking at this morning. Remember, I told you I was kind of an investigative rabbit hole. I was in two at the same time, and it all concerns different things. But with the Delphi case, I don't know if you've seen this chatter, but Gray Hughes apparently struck somebody for playing, I believe, what was Gray Hughes' content instead of playing the actual video directly from the website. I'm talking about the Bridge Guy video. And
Transparency and justice, right?
this person got struck by Gray Hughes Media. And they claim, the claim on social media is that Becky Patty owns the rights to that video and has sold it to people like Gray Hughes. And now you're going to get a copyright strike if you play it, which is not true. It came from the defense website. It's part of a public record. Nobody owns the rights to it. So I don't know what that guy's angle was over there saying all that. Or my feeling was that he got struck because he actually used Gray's content in a way he probably shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Made the guy mad and he struck him. So I don't, but I'm not seeing anything about Becky Patty owning that. That is so ridiculous. You know what I mean?
You mean the bridge guy video?
Yeah, Bridge Guy video. That's the latest rumbling.
No.
Exactly.
No.
I'll send you everything I saw later. Let me grab this link again so I can share it back to you.
Yeah, go grab that link, and I'm actually going to play the Bridge Guy video because we can't see it enough. Because every time I see it, I see something new. So I'm going to play it now.
Go Schmoe. Oh, I don't know where I put that. There we go. Now it's coming through your private DM. Okay. Okay. maybe I sent it to somebody. Oh, I think I sent it to Dolphin by accident.
All right, let's play the Bridge Guy video first because you want to strike me for this, for playing it off of it. And this is directly off of the Transparency and Justice website. So this has nothing to do with Becky Patty or Gray Hughes. Nothing at all.
Sorry.
You're right. Here we go. Turn up your volume because it's low. Okay, so let's see how far back he is, because Truth Exposed said something about how wide a railroad tie is and how wide the gap is. So the railroad tie is like 9 inches. The gap is like 4 inches-ish. So that's like 13 inches. So it's about a foot to 1.1 feet. between ties. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So he's about 20 feet-ish behind her right now. And this is, so I'm going to correct what I said last time. I thought this was the enhanced video, but they have clarified this is the exact extraction from Libby's phone. This is not enhanced.
It's on the defense's website that this is the original taken from Libby's phone and is not enhanced anyway.
Whoa, he's right there. So how did he go from nowhere? And somebody proposed a theory that he actually was on the south end of the bridge and he walked north past them and then he turned around and came back behind.
That's what I'm hearing as well. And I don't say that theory is not wrong.
No,
but here's my thing.
Plausible.
Here's the thing. When Bridge Guy self-reported, when Rick Allen self-reported, I was there. He says he went out to the first platform and checked the stock ticker. He never said I walked the full length of the bridge, and he never said I saw 2 girls on the bridge.
Right, but could he have come up from the south end of the bridge to that platform we're looking at right now?
Either way, yes, he could have. But if that's Rick Allen, he never said he saw the girls on the bridge.
And you can't see fish from there because that's not over the creek. That's over the private drive. That's over Brad Weber's private drive. So
exactly,
if he was
the creek is only
fish,
a small portion.
Yes, and it's on the north end of the bridge. It's 100% on the north end of the bridge. So
exactly. I mean, I've got issues with this case. I still don't know if Bridge Guy is Rick Allen. I don't know if Rick Allen did this or not. I know there's been a lot of, we both know all the shadiness that's been gone on in this case. I've had somebody take a look recently at the case who probably didn't look at it a lot. And the Snapchat picture, even maybe the elevation caused you not to see Bridge Guy. But I'm like, we've studied this thing for, 2 years. I don't think an elevation change on that bridge is going to cause me not to see Bridge Guy behind Abby in the Snapchat photo. There's a lot of bridge behind her, right?
Yep.
Because they were even saying, well, could the girls have just gotten on the bridge? I'm like, but look at all the bridge behind her. They're well across the bridge at that point during the Snapchat picture. But yeah, there he is. And we don't see him behind her. So it does make plausible sense that he'd already went down to the south end. But the girls were coming from north to south. So did he walk past them, like you were suggesting, and then turn around and go back toward them? Very well could have been exactly how that happened.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that makes sense. That's the only thing that makes sense. But then we also have theories that there were other people, or at least one other person, on the south end with the girls. That's not even verifiable. We don't hear that. I mean, we hear guys down the hill, but I don't know who said it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So either it's one of two things. Either he went across that bridge at a very, very high rate of speed, like 3 times how fast Abby was walking, or he was on the south end, walked past them, and then turned around and came back south. I mean, it's one of the two. There's no other explanation for him not being in the Snapchat photo and then him being 20 feet behind her, like 20 seconds later, 30 seconds later.
Right. It makes sense that he may have went ahead and crossed the entire bridge, and then he passed them and turned around and came back.
Yeah.
Because we don't even know that. We don't even know. Right. And we don't even know that Bridge Guy is Rick Allen. Yeah, he placed himself out there. But there's a lot of photos circulating right now on Twitter putting this image side by side with Ron Logan. They're saying, is that you, Ron Logan? And, Sleuthy pointed out there are clear screenshots that we can take from this video that are much clearer than the screenshot that the law enforcement took from this video.
Like even the one we're looking at right now.
Right, exactly.
I mean, come on.
They
Why did you have to have it all blurry and pixelated?
Exactly. Because they zoomed in so close on him. Because remember the spot that I was telling you it looked like was where Bridge Guy video was taken that was released? Somebody else agreed with that as well. That it's pretty much right there where they used it. So they would have had to have zoomed in even closer to him, which would then take Libby out of the, or Abby, I'm sorry, out of the frame completely. And when they zoomed in on him, did all that squish him a little and pixelate and do the things, you know what I mean? The manipulation started occurring. Like, I don't got a problem if you enhance a video, but tell me how you enhanced it. That's my thing. But yeah, so
Right.
there's, you know, I'm with you though. We've had it out for a little bit now. And we've been analyzing it and trying to figure out how this went down. And especially in comparison with the Snapchat photo.
Look at how clear that looks right there.
Mm-hmm.
Why did we just get
Yeah.
a blurry pixelated photo of Bridge Guy? Look how clear that is.
I know. And if you screenshot it and then you turn it upright, I mean, it's like, come on. You can see it so much better than that loop that we were put out for 5 years where he's all mushy and distorted looking. So yeah, we can get clear. If we armchair detectives can get a clear screenshot, why couldn't they?
Like actual detectives, right? But are they actual
Right.
detectives? Ugh.
Yeah.
There's no path there, so let's just go down here.
And we're not hearing any audio.
You're not, God.
God, dude, did you? What are
This
you
is
playing
straight.
yourself
This is
through?
straight from the This is straight from the Transparency and Justice website, like the one you sent me. All right, I'm not going to struggle with that anymore. I
Yeah. We'll be here all day going, what the hell?
Right?
Oh, we're all used to Joe not having any sound. I'm teasing you, Joe. I'm teasing you. Hey,
I don't
this
know
Hot Mess Express run. Don't feel bad. You know old Bob Mata and Allie struggle over there sometimes. It's a little bit of a Hot Mess Express, but I love them anyway.
Right. I don't know if it's a StreamYard issue or if it's a Joe issue. I really don't. I mean, obviously, I've had problems that keep recurring, so it's probably a Joe issue. But I'm just playing the website. Like, I'm just sharing. I say share this website, and that's straight from the Transparency and Justice website.
Are you doing it through Google Chrome?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Oh, you think that might be it?
No, that's what I use. That's what I have to use. So I don't know what the problem is either.
All right. I'll get better, folks. I promise. I'll get better. So
we give you grace, Joe Schmoe. I'm not perfect either. I have tech difficulties.
Yeah.
You know I have tech difficulties occasionally. I had one last night. I knew better than to open a video out of Discord and try to share it because it wasn't going to work, but I did. And then I couldn't get that to stop in the background. It was playing in my ear as I'm trying to pull up the video off YouTube. I'm like, oh my God, I had to just like silence myself. I had to mute myself and go get all that fixed out. I was like, damn, don't ever open shit straight from Discord. It will mess you up.
Right. So there's got to be an answer. What are you supposed to open it in? And that was Google Chrome. That was like another window in Google Chrome.
Well,
you know what?
When I played it through there, I was able to hear the sounds. So,
you know what? I think so. I need to do an experiment. Everybody hang with me because I think it needs to be in a new window. I think I have to open up a brand new window all by itself.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try and represent and reshare that video. And you'll have to tell me like within the first 15 seconds if you can hear the audio, because I know I'll hear it, but I don't know if you'll hear it.
Right. Gotcha. Nothing.
For real?
For real. You guys hear anything? I don't.
What the hell? Oh. All right.
Are you on your desktop or a laptop?
laptop.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. I'm working from a desktop when I play it through Chrome. So
Yeah, I don't have a desktop. Like I got it to work the other night. Remember when we were doing that? And eventually
oh yeah, yeah,
I found the way to make it have audio. I'm
yeah.
gonna have to go back and
You're
watch
gonna have
my
to
own
play around
live.
with it, yeah, and
Yeah,
figure out what you use to do it with, and then that way, and then remember that, going forward. I hope you're able to play this other thing that I sent you, but it's directly from a YouTube link from YouTube, so it should be fine.
all right. Let's while we're on Delphi, let's look at my FOIA response thing from the FBI first, or it's actually from the
She'll
U.S.
be
Department
trying
of
the
Justice.
FBI, y'all. We got defense attorneys who can't even get stuff from the FBI, but Joe's like, hold my beer. I'm gonna try anyway. I
Yeah,
love it.
and the U.S. DOJ is like, here, hold my beer.
Exactly. Who are you, Joe Schmoe?
Right. So they sent me an email on the 11th. So that was 4 calendar days ago. You appealed from the action of the Federal Bureau of Investigation on your Freedom of Information Act request for access to records concerning the investigation of the deaths of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. I note, so this is personal. This is somebody personally reviewing and responding to my FOIA request. I note that your appeal concerns withholding of responsive records under Exemption 7A. After carefully considering your appeal, I am affirming the FBI's action on your request. The FOIA provides for disclosure of many agency records. At the same time, Congress included in the FOIA 9 exemptions from disclosure that provide protection for important interests such as personal privacy, privileged communications, and certain law enforcement activities. That last one's a big one because when they denied it the first time, they said it's an active, they were denying it based on the fact that it's an active investigation. This person who reviewed this said the FBI properly withheld this information in full because it properly withheld this information in full, so they couldn't release any of it because it is protected from disclosure under the FOIA pursuant to 5 U.S.C. 552b7a, and it is reasonably foreseeable that disclosure of this information would harm the interests protected by this provision. That's the interest of the FBI. That's whose
Exactly.
interest they're protecting.
They're protecting their interest. Yes, Joe.
This provision
FBI, their IGG, and all their stuff. We have this love-hate relationship with the FBI, though, right? We know that
right.
the FBI and Delphi thought certain things that didn't jive with what the local authorities were thinking. And we got the FBI mess over here in Idaho with the IGG. So sometimes we like the FBI and sometimes we don't. I'm like, they're the FBI people. They've been doing this shit forever. It's no surprise, right?
And they have been involved with huge cases forever, like
Forever.
the JFK assassination.
And we know they have means of doing things. And do I really want to know about all their means? Honestly, I don't. Because it would probably be overwhelming to a lot of people as to what they're capable of doing and looking into without checks and balances, right? And if they're out there catching America's most wanted hardened criminals, do I care how they got them? Sometimes, no. Do I care about IGG being used? Hell no. It caught the Golden State Killer. Bring it on. If this is a tool we can use going forward, let's do it. But you still have to collect evidence on the person, right? To prove they did anything. So it's just, the FBI is the FBI. Sometimes we like them and sometimes we don't. I don't like they're able to collect so much on us, right? Without having a really valid warrants and things like that. They do FBI subpoenas and they do their own warrants and stuff, but they are able to collect the information in a way to obtain those warrants. So it may not be on the up and up.
Yeah, what was that movie with Will Smith and Gene Hackman?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that movie. Will Smith. Good Lord.
I'm gonna have to Google it now because it escapes my brain.
Oh no.
Oh, enemy of the state. Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
enemy of the state. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
people
And
have
that's
had
all about,
their yeah. We've known for years that they do shady stuff at the FBI, if you want to call it shady, in their investigative practices. And we all know that there, if you, I loosely, well, I don't even follow politics anymore, but I know there's been a lot of, stuff at the DOJ and this and that. Who do we trust? Who can we not trust? All the things, like, I don't even know anymore. But I know it's really hard to obtain information from the FBI. I mean,
yeah,
Ann
I
Taylor had
can,
to do special subpoenas through the judge in Idaho to try to get more information out of them, which she didn't
I,
succeed. They don't even have to honor
I
the
can
subpoena once it's
attest.
given. Yeah,
Right. It's a what is a public record and what is protected by a quote unquote active investigation. So the background behind my FOIA request is I specifically requested, and if you don't put in a specific request, they can deny it just on the grounds that it's not specific enough. So specifically, I requested information on their investigation into the Odinist aspect of this. And I
right,
specifically named the people that were investigated by ISP and the FBI in the early days of this.
right,
So if they're denying it now, and let's continue with this paragraph right here, this provision concerns records or information compiled for law enforcement purposes, the release of which could reasonably be expected to interfere with enforcement proceedings. What enforcement proceedings do we have going on related to those Odinist suspects?
okay. Well, here's the thing about your suspects. One of them, for a very long time prior to the murders, he is on the Southern Poverty Law Center and he's flagged. He's been flagged. The FBI has known about him for a long time. His name is Patrick Westfall. And if you go research the Southern Poverty Law Center, you'll find all sorts of information on these characters and what they were doing and what they're being watched. They've been watched the whole time. So since they were the ones named in the Odinist report, and they're also on the Southern Poverty Law Center, they were already on the FBI's radar, right? So who knows? Is this talking about them specifically? It obviously is. These guys are, in my opinion, are under constant investigation, and and it's totally unrelated to Delphi. All the stuff on the Southern Poverty Law Center about them and their group is all unrelated to Delphi. There's a lot of information about what that group does and are capable of doing,
Right.
and that's why they're flagged. So,
right.
yeah,
USA Libertarian says, I never thought it was Ron Logan, but I'm honestly leaning that way. And after the confessions that we heard from Reese Davis, I mean, we have to consider it, right? I mean, it has to be a genuine consideration, but it can't be both. I mean, kind of technically it could be Odinist and Ron Logan, but that Ron Logan and Keegan Klein are
no connections to Odinism at all.
right. They're a CP. Those guys are CP perverts.
Yep.
And CSAM perverts. That's not an Odinism thing at all. So
no, Ron, there was, and there's a lot of us that have deep dove this for 2.5 years, pulled up a lot of information on these particular Odinists and these particular players. Nowhere, anybody, not even Sleuthy, nobody can connect Ron Logan or Keegan Klein to Odinism. They are strictly about their CSAM. So you can't have both theories be responsible outside of Rick Allen. You can't. Now, we do know that Keegan Klein did talk to the girls the night before under the Catfish account, right? Anthony Schatz. He talked to them the night before and the morning of, and allegedly was supposed to meet the girls out there. Now, that communication should be on Libby's phone between her and Klein. And in fact, that's how they learned about it. So they're well aware of those communications. And they're well aware that Anthony Schatz had planned to meet the girls at the bridge. So who else was down there on the south side of that bridge with those girls that maybe they weren't supposed to be meeting that day? Therefore, they didn't want to put that person on a camera. We can't let mom know we're down here with you because we're not supposed to be, which is normal 14, 15-year-old girl bullshit.
Right. So we know that the night before, Abby and Libby were supposed to spend the night at Abby's house, which is actually Abby's grandparents' house, which is actually only a half mile from the end of the bridge, the south end of the bridge. But they talked Anne into changing the plans and them spending the night at Libby's house instead of Abby's house. Probably, I mean, it makes sense that they did that because they thought they were going to meet this cute Anthony Schatz dude, right? Probably, not definitively. We can't say for sure, but that would make sense.
Yeah, I don't know what prompted the girls to switch up and go to the Libby's house, because they were always at Libby's house too.
Right, but there was less control. There was less control at Libby's house.
Exactly, and yeah, without like that. Not like they didn't care about the girls, right? But there was less strict. They were less strict, I think is the word, because as far as from what you hear from Anna, but they apparently didn't. You know, from what we've heard, they didn't decide to go to the bridge till the next morning when they heard that Kelsey was heading out. They're like, "Oh, hey, wait, Kelsey, can you give us a ride to the bridge?" Because they had planned to stay in and help Becky with some of her paperwork. And then something happened and made them want to go to the bridge. Was that when they were communicating with Schatz? And he's like, "Well, I can meet you guys at the Monon High Bridge," right? And lured them out there.
Yeah.
Because it always felt like, did someone know they were going to be there? This is a weird crime of opportunity, right? We know that crime of opportunities happen, but they're usually in a different circumstance. A robbery, you know what I mean? There's a guy walking down the road. I can mug him. Sexual assault victims, crimes of opportunities. You know, she's out jogging. The weirdo sees her. Is this the same thing? I mean, he just got out there that day and like, oh, wow, there's two girls. I think today might be the day I try something weird. Crime of opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Seem like it. Nope, it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense.
Yeah, the crime of opportunity doesn't jive with me.
Not with two girls. Like, so there are there are rumors that actually one of the witnesses was originally the target of the bad guy, and
he changed his mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and he changed it up from one single female to two young teenagers.
Well, if he thought he had the girls isolated down on the bridge, how did he know they were going to cross that bridge? Like, say, for instance, he did go ahead and cross from north all the way to south. He had no idea those girls were going to come onto that bridge as well. Oops, I didn't get the first one. That wasn't a good circumstance, but look here. Here's come two right here to me in the middle of nowhere. But I still don't buy it as a crime of opportunity, unless now people have theorized also that because of the Peru connection to Keegan Kline living there and Rick Allen's connection, they didn't live that far apart. Rick's mother didn't live that far from Keegan Kline. Did Keegan Kline know Rick Allen? Did Rick Allen have access to that Anthony Schatz account? That would have been proven in court because they got all the records from the Anthony Schatz account, and Anthony Schatz account was accessed by Keegan and his dad, but wasn't accessed from, like, say, a device that Rick Allen owned. Because if they could prove that in court, they would have done that. The prosecution would have been, look here, right?
Yeah, the state would have brought that in 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. So obviously he didn't know about the Anthony Schatz account, and he wasn't communicating with the girls through it. So it's a lot of unanswered questions here.
And we still have unanswered questions. That's the most
frustrating that's the crazy part. Exactly. It is very frustrating. And when I talk to people who are kind of just now like looking at the case, they don't understand how we got where we are, and they're trying to explain to me why I can't see Bridge Guy in the Snapchat photo. I'm like, I've went down every rabbit hole trying to figure that out, and it's just crazy. It's like, it's hard to take a look at a case like midway, like Karen Reed, for instance, I didn't follow it all the way through. And now that I'm kind of following it, it's like, I'm kind of lost. You know what I mean? I can't comment either way because I don't know enough, you know? And so, yeah, I just think people need to really if you want to take a look at the case, go back to the beginning, go watch some old streams and take a look at the case, and then make your determinations.
I've been a keyboard sleuth on this from the beginning, from like day one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I still don't know. I still don't know with 100% certainty, even beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know, but I wasn't on the jury, so I didn't get to have a vote one way or the other. Okay, so this letter, please be advised that this office's decision was made only after a full review of this matter. So they did review my appeal. Your appeal was assigned to an attorney with this office who thoroughly reviewed and analyzed your appeal, your underlying request, and the action of the FBI in response to your request. If you are dissatisfied with my action on your appeal, the FOIA permits you to file a lawsuit in federal district court in accordance with 5 U.S.C. 552A4B. For your information, the Office of Government Information Services offers mediation services to resolve disputes between FOIA requesters and federal agencies as a non-exclusive alternative to litigation. Using OGIS services does not affect your right to pursue litigation. So honestly, that's probably the next step, is to contact OGIS with my next appeal. Because, I don't have unlimited resources to file a federal lawsuit.
Oh, God, no. And we just want the Odinist report. We just want the Odin report.
Right, yeah, exactly.
The full Odin report. That's all we want. So why not? But if it's to do with the alternate suspects, that may be the reason, man. Because of the fact they're flagged by them already.
They have to be under FBI investigation right now for them to deny.
They always are. Like I feel like they always are. I'm telling you, you've got to go check. You have to go to the Poverty Law Center's website and look into. I'll send you the link later. There's a lot in there on these alternate suspects: Messer, Westfall, the whole gang, and their white supremacy stuff they incorporated with their Odinism, the events they would go to, the events they would hold. Yeah, they're flagged. So I think there's always an ongoing investigation into these guys. They're watched all the time.
All right, I'm going to try this 911 call. And if you guys can't hear the audio, I'm just going to start drinking.
Tell them what 911 call. Tell them what 911 call we're listening to.
This is from the Idaho 4. And so there was speculation that there were people that released portions of the 911 call, but they had the thing in its entirety and they wouldn't release it in its entirety. Is this supposed to be it in its entirety?
Yeah, this is it in its entirety. So there's been a lot of speculation about this damn call. When Gray Hughes received it and Drunk Turkey, they both claimed they got it on a FOIA request, like you said, from Whitcomb, right? People are telling me in my DMs this morning, Whitcomb's a media company. I had to show proof they're not. They're a 911 call center out of Pullman, Washington, contracted through Moscow to handle their 911 calls. We've always known that in this case, most of us. So then it came out, certain creators began to say that it was a leak, it was leaked. And then they emailed a bunch, and I found this out last night. A bunch of emails were sent out to, the prosecution, the defense, whoever would listen. This has been leaked. Okay, as if the prosecution leaked it. Therefore, we want them to be in trouble now. Not realizing the defense also has a copy of this and is quite capable of leaking things as well. So it wasn't leaked. Then I had someone tell me this morning that it was leaked to Gray Hughes and Drunk Turkey via Steve Gonzalez. The only thing Steve Gonzalez stated in that video or his News Nation interview was finally they got a heads up from Moscow and were told it was being released and they were allowed to listen to it before it was released to the public. Somebody took that to mean that Steve Gonzalez leaked it. There's no damn leak. It came, I posted the proof and the email straight from Whitcomb 911 call center. And they go through the entire steps of the gag order and the process in which they were now allowed to release this call. So the one you're about to play came from news media, because I knew the second news media got wind that social media had this, they were going to clamor to get their hands on it and have it by the end of the day yesterday, and they did. So this is the full 911 call released through a media outlet that they received from a FOIA request.
All right.
And this is not an enhanced version. There's no audio enhancement or anything. I have the one that Gray Hughes did. Like I said, with audio enhancements, you can hear a little bit better, not a whole lot. But I wanted you guys to hear the unedited version, because we're gun shy about that kind of stuff over here.
Fingers crossed, people, like
Oh,
prayers
good Lord.
to
Okay.
whatever God you worship. Like, let's try it. Yes or no?
No.
God, are you kidding me?
Okay. Okay. Louis, I'm sorry. I got to address this comment. Louis, everyone go to Evil CJ. You can trust him. Can we? Link me to the video, please, or link it to Joe. DM us something. I want to see the live where CJ proves that Steve Gonzalez leaked it. And if he did leak it, so what? Nobody minded when Linda Lane got leaked. But I looked this morning and I can't see where Evil CJ, I saw a video of him giving his opinion that that could have been the case. But I didn't see the clip where Steve Gonzalez claims he leaked it to Gray Hughes and Drunk Turkey. So if you know where that's at, I would love to see that. Y'all gonna make up your own minds about CJ. But I'm just to the point where I need to start seeing people's receipts on some of this stuff. And what is the point of emailing a bunch of prosecutors? And the whole thing was to get the prosecution in trouble, because they're convinced the prosecution leaked it if it was leaked. Or whoever leaked it, if it was Steve, because there's a gag order. Well, if it had benefited Brian Koberger, they wouldn't have had an issue with it. But in my opinion, it doesn't benefit either side to have it released, right? Because honestly, it's a very messy call. It's past, there's not a ton of people at that house, like we've been told by other YouTube creators for a year and a half. There are 4 people there. The 2 surviving roommates, Hunter and Emily. Hunter is Ethan's best friend. Those are the only 4 people there. By the time the cops got there, within minutes, there were a few other kids coming out the door at that point, but they didn't enter that home. And there's just a lot of speculation being told that, they trampled the crime scene, they destroyed it, all these things were being said. But at some point, you got to start asking your people to bring you receipts on this stuff, because these streets are dangerous, man. Right, young black economists, they went through the legal realms and they made sure before they released that call that they could release it, and they were absolutely approved to go ahead and release it. Go ahead, Joey. Are you trying to fix it? I'm just checking. I'm checking chats. Dizzy, I hear you, girl. I see your comment.
Fucking frustrated with this fucking audio. Like,
okay, hold on. Well, we're chatting in chat. You try to figure it out. Dizzy, I agree with your comment there on CJ. And I've watched CJ's content for a very, very, very long time.
Location of your emergency.
Gotcha. We hear it now, Joe.
This happened in our house. We don't know what. What is the address of the emergency? 1122. What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in there.
Wait. Her throat has been slit, and she's reporting it as she passed out, and she won't wake up.
They don't. Hang on, Joe. They haven't seen the bodies yet.
Okay.
Here's
so
what we don't
like
understand. Okay, so we know that Dylan did text her dad. Shortly after that, Dylan is calling Hunter and Emily, they're next door, to come over there. Something is wrong, and we don't know. Xana's not responding. Xana's behind her bedroom door, and I don't know if the door's locked or not. Now, you got a sadistic killer in the house, brutally unaliving 4 people. Maybe he locked the door and shut it when he walked out, because that gives you a little more time to have to get in that room. So anyway, apparently the doors were shut. The girls could not get Xana to respond. That's when, because you will hear during the call when Hunter actually discovers the body. He comes up into the house, he's going up the stairs, and he yells out, "Xana, Ethan, it's me." He finally gets to Xana's door. The girls are back in the house at this point because 911 wanting to know, is there an unconscious person? And all the girls know at this point is, yes, apparently there is. But then you hear Hunter yell, "Get out, get out, get out," once he discovered what he discovered. And then there's News Nation interview with Steve Gonzalez where he talked to Hunter about that experience. And it's fucking heartbreaking.
All right. I rewound so we can listen to that one more time because I'm still trying to make sense of it.
2022.
911 location of your emergency.
Hi, something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, King Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi,
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, we gotta go check. But we have to.
What is that noise that's going on in the background? Like the rattling, clicking noise? Do we know?
Not sure. They're walking back toward the house because the girls were outside and Hunter was in the house or just went in the house. And then Bethany is telling Dylan, or Dylan is telling Bethany, "Come on, Bethany, we have to go in and we have to check." Because they don't know what's going on still yet, which I can't explain, but they don't.
She's not waking up.
Okay. One moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have heard a lot of 911 calls, and I have heard a lot of people faking being distraught on 911 calls, and I don't hear that here. I don't hear a fake distraught. I absolutely do not hear it. But, I'm not
Me
an
neither.
expert. I'm not law
Well, I don't
enforcement.
either. Well, no, we're regular people with regular feelings, and we have regular ears and emotions. We can hear this. She's not faking it.
She sounds genuinely, extremely distraught, disturbed, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20. Here's one.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay.
Oh gosh. 911 operator getting a little salty there. It's like,
Yeah.
stop passing the phone around. But you know what? Damn it, there have been 4 people unalived in this house.
Yeah,
so
but then going back to 911 calls, they have to remain calm, cool, and collected. And she's right. Stop passing the phone around. I need
right.
clear,
But if
concise
you're overcome
information.
with
I
emotion,
understand that, but was the operator supposed to get? I mean, you still got to try to. I think she could have done a better job. I've heard more compassionate operators. Do you know what I'm saying? They really talk to the victims, calm them down, and can get to the bottom of. This one sounded very robotic, didn't she? In fact, she did to me.
she's got to find that balance though between being directive, like she's got to direct them how to respond to the situation from a remote position. Like Whitcomb, she's sitting somewhere in some office or some house somewhere, like responding to this 911 call. I don't know
She's
how
at the Whitman
Whitcomb
Call
works.
Center in Pullman. There's a Whitman Call Center. I've done sent some people
Whitcomb.
to whatever you want to call it. I have sent the links to this company to people this morning trying to tell me it was a media company. So it is a call center in Pullman, and that's where the lady is at. But she could have done a little better balancing of her job there. I agree. She sounded very robotic to me.
Yeah, it's a tough balance to
And
strike
before I forget, I want to say, Dr. Vonda, I just went and linked that interview with Steve to Joe so we can listen to it in a little bit. It's in the private Discord chat there, Joe.
Yeah, I've known a couple of 911 dispatchers, and they have a really, really, really difficult job. Like
they do.
They have no influence over the immediate situation when that call first comes in, and they have to try and get that person that's calling them to take control of the situation, and they have to tell them how to take control of the situation.
Right.
And it's a difficult job, and honestly, they suffer from the effects of it, PTSD, whatever you want to call it, almost as much as emergency responders do who actually go out to the scene. And most of that is due to the fact that they actually have no physical control over the scene or the people or the person calling. Anyway, so I feel for her, but she's like, stop passing the phone around, damn it. Let me talk to somebody who can give me a clear, concise description of the scene. I think that's where the frustration in that part of it comes from. I want to know what's going on there. And every time that you guys like hand off the phone to somebody else, I like lose control. I like lose the picture of what's going on there. I think that's probably where her frustration comes from.
Sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
You should talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. They need you to talk to them.
Hello.
Okay. I have already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again. There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
We don't have one. I think yes. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, we have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
11:59 a.m. 49 seconds, November 13, 2022.
That's so tough.
Yeah, there was a lot. It's a lot, you know, and I was just going back over comments and looking at things. You know, I don't think people that we're going to rationally think about this. I'm going to be completely honest. A lot of us, including me, had a problem with this 8-hour gap. What was going on? What happened here? What would make it make sense? So as more come out, it kind of, you started getting a picture, right? And then when the transcript was released, and then the court hearing happened, and the talk about how Dylan was intoxicated, which was something a lot of us already felt was probably the case, considering the situation of the party house atmosphere and all the things. That was this girl intoxicated? You know, was she not realizing what she was seeing and hearing was actually something bad happening in the moment? And people have a hard time, you know, if someone said, well, how did she make it from her room down to Bethany's room without seeing Xana in the floor? Xana wasn't in the living room floor. Now, the PCA clearly states that it was Xana that could be seen from the door, like as they're entering the hallway to go to her room, that door was open and she could be seen laying there. Also in the room was Ethan. Now, somewhere along the story, and I know where it came from, and I just think it was a misinterpretation because it came from Christy Gonzalez on the Drunk Turkey show. She did an interview, but he did not air the interview. He's famous for doing something and coming out and telling you about it. So he told us that Christy said Hunter tried to get in the door. They couldn't get in the door. Once they did, Ethan was there. But that's not the case. It was Xana the whole time right there at the bedroom door. And yes, the doors were shut. Now, we also know now that when law enforcement arrived with their body cams, the doors were open. Don't you think for a second when Hunter realized what had happened in Xana's bedroom and he starts screaming, get out, get out, get out, did he then run upstairs and open Maddie and Kaylee's doors to check on them? And then he came running back down, leaving those doors open, leaving Murphy in the damn bedroom. And Murphy's like, I'm not coming out. I don't know what's going on. I can't explain Murphy. I'm not a dog. That's the only thing I can get to with it, you know. And there's just so much going to be said about this. And I encourage people to really take, speaking of, there are a lot of people out there who have admitted to doing super shady things in this Idaho 4 case. And people continue to still watch them for some reason. And I'm calling those people out. Only because I don't think it's fair anymore to continue to drag victims to build your channel. Because if I throw out the crazies will come. And those channels are getting over 1,000 views, if not more, on some of their content. There's completely no way to back it up. Now, where Evil CJ was concerned, him and Dago True Crime, whatever the hell he's called these days, Cafe, Dago, whatever, they platformed a person one time live, knowing the person was fake, knowing what the person was going to get up there and say, but they decided to do it anyway and not tell their community, but they wanted the community's reaction. Then they went back on the live and said, we knew the whole time. We just, and people got mad. So why do that? Why get behind the scenes and do that trickery to your community? And now people want to come and suggest we go watch your content. I'm good. I don't have any problem speaking my mind on people who get out there and lie on purpose. And I got nothing I can take away from your stream from this point going forward, so I won't be back. Now, if you can bring me a receipt and back that shit up, hey, I'll be all down that rabbit hole with you. But until then, goodbye. Y'all got to be careful out there and take this stuff that you see and listen to it fairly and honestly. If people are still, well, why did she do this? Why did she do that? Why this? Why that? I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't think any of us can. But Steve Gonzalez has a lot of compassion for these victims right now, these surviving roommates, let's call them that. And the best friends that had to go over and find his friend's body. That was devastating to these kids. And I feel like part of the reason to keep the gag order, now there's been a gag order over the entire case, right? So we're not getting nothing until recently anyway. Now the judge has thrown down some standards and said enough is enough. Things are coming out that should be coming out. This call was going to be coming out in the FOIA request because it came out in a transcript, right? So I don't, people are taking it now and still twisting it and hearing things that aren't there and implying that, certain things that I'm not even going to talk about. But if you can't listen to it fairly and evaluate it fairly, and if you disagree with my take on it, that's fine. But if you feel it's a nefarious activity going on, tell me how. You know what I mean? Tell me how you get that out of it. It's like, that's what I want to know. That's the discussion I'm willing to have. Anyway, end rant.
Perfect. Do you want me to try and play this News Nation clip?
Yeah, you can. Now, we went over that 911 call pretty good last night on my live. And like I said, we played the enhanced version too. Jeff H sent me a clip that he also audio enhanced. So there's, just if you guys want to take a listen, and Joe just played it, go back to the replay, play it over and over, put your headphones on, do whatever you got to do and just listen. It's pretty heartbreaking stuff actually. But yeah, try to play that piece because it's Steve. Because remember, he got upset that they released the transcript of the 911 call without telling them. I played that piece on my show as well. And they just wanted a heads up. He's being super strong as a dad, that alpha male as he always wanted to call himself. Christy is obviously struggling. And obviously she has really good reasons, right? So he got upset when the transcript got released and he contacted Moscow and he let them know how he felt about that. And so did his attorney. And his attorney actually said, I'm pissed that this happened. Well, Steve was given a heads up on the 911 call release, and he was allowed to listen to it. And this piece is going to explain that. But people took, apparently, that this means he's the one who leaked the stuff that was coming out anyway. So I don't know. But yes, go ahead and play it if you can.
All right. And if the audio doesn't work on this, then I'm just going to drop the mic and walk out. And we'll say, have a good day.
I'm joined now by Steve Gonzalez. He lost his daughter, Kaylee, that tragic morning. Steve, I know that
we can hear it.
The authorities gave you that tape before the rest of us. You've had some time. But beyond that, I don't know how, after 2.5 years of gag order, this landed with you. I don't know if this was more painful, more elucidating, a bitter pill. Tell me how you're coping with this at this point.
I'm a father, so it's not, my emotions are really my children and my wife. So I would say that they feel like they're slowly drowning, and I'm the guy that's trying to help them stay from drowning. And these slow leaks, this torturous process that we're going through, they've done a better job. They've responded to our feedback. We have said, hey, The 911 call is not something that we want to turn on TV and actually see. So they have responded. They have done a better job of, this is a community that doesn't know what murder is. They don't have any clue how to handle, public relations. It just doesn't really exist. So we're getting through it together, and it's hard to say it's getting better, but they are communicating, and we're trying to protect our children and protect all the families and protect the survivors to make sure that we don't have these trolls that are attacking them for no reason.
Did you get any clarity? Did you learn anything?
So did he just say trolls that are attacking? So they're getting attacked by trolls, which wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm just trying to clarify.
Oh yeah, it's already started. Yes, the surviving roommates on the call are being attacked by the trolls. That's what he's talking about.
Ridiculous, despicable. Go back under your rock, people.
Or any epiphanies when you listen to the call?
Yes. I mean, I always wanted it to make more sense. Like any murder, your brain wants to gravitate towards how make this make sense. But the truth is, murder never makes sense. This is a psychopathic person who does something that breaks the norm of all of our consciousness. All of our minds are just struggling with the fact that this has happened. So we can logically try to make it make sense, but it's not really going to make sense. It's not Hollywood where they try to make it all fit together. In real life, you're just sitting there dumbfounded, like, why can somebody be killed in their bedroom? How does that make sense?
You mentioned in a statement today that you think Hunter Johnson protected those girls. I mean, listen, I don't know what happened, but I'm trying to piece this together like a puzzle, and it sure feels like he knew something and he protected Bethany from knowing. Do you think that he went up to the third floor and may have seen what happened to Kaylee and Maddie and therefore said, get out, get out, get out, but did not tell Bethany and did not tell Dylan?
I talked to Hunter directly, and it sucks. He had a broken soul. This is a man who's seen his best friend dead, dying, like gone. So we exchanged a moment, and I talked to him, and he was trying to protect everyone in that house to not go through what was overwhelming him at the moment. So I don't know about the details of upstairs, downstairs, door open, door not, but in the bigger picture, does it really matter? He was literally just responding to what he probably thought was a prank, thinking his friend, his best buddy, had these girls rolling, and he showed up there, and he seen the opposite of a prank, and I seen it in his eyes. He was broken. He was very broken.
So Dad says that he talked to him and he believes that he was completely innocent of having any participation in this. So anybody out there that doubts that just is mind-boggling to me.
Well, Hunter didn't have anything to do with it. People speculated that Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, did. Nobody ever really speculated that Hunter did anything. But there were some that did, you know what I mean? The Hunter, I saw Dr. Vonda ask earlier, Hunter was Ethan's best friend, and he was right next door. Ethan's triplets siblings were just down the street. They showed up within minutes. And Ethan's Jeep that he shared with his brother was already on the property because he had it that night. And when they went off to college, Stacy Chapin bought the boys the Jeep and gave Macy her vehicle. And Maisie's black vehicle, SUV, is parked right behind that Jeep because she pulled up, her and her brother pulled in together in her car right behind the Jeep. And when the police taped off the scene, they taped off her vehicle in there as well. And all the vehicles were confiscated, included hers. And then Stacy Chapin came out, Ethan's mother, and made the statement, that they had 2 vehicles and a really good set of golf clubs. And that really pinged in my head because I knew there were golf clubs in that house. I always wondered, did Ethan grab a golf club and try to, fight back or at any point, whatever. But golf clubs were in Maisie's vehicle. They were a huge golfing family. And there were clubs in the house as well that belonged to Xana because Ethan had her golfing now. But it was just, they were just down the street, the siblings. So they got there too on scene as it was all unfolding. Could you imagine? It's everybody handles everything differently, but they're just, it was insane, that scene. And everybody was so close together, What's the story with Bethany and the sorority driver? I've heard they were having an affair. I have never heard that about Bethany and the driver, but it's curious to me that he dropped Kaylee and Maddie off, right, 156 apparently, and then Dylan texted him at 2:10 a.m. I don't know what that was about. That's in the court documents, so I don't know. People have tried, I just watched some things last night. Somebody's content, actually, Viviana did a really good piece on that particular subject. And somebody put out a bunch of bad information on that driver and went to his Facebook page and was saying all kinds of stuff. And she literally sat there on her video and debunked every bit of it. And it was beautiful to watch. So I don't believe that the driver was involved in any sort of way. But he did know all the girls because he did. And this guy, he is on a lot of, he does a lot of good in the community, right? He was a college kid, but he was a private driver who worked for the, driving the college kids around. I don't know why Dylan texted him. I can't explain that. But Eric, I said his name. His name's out there. His name's Eric Scour. He is not involved at all. Just because he was the last one to drop the girls off doesn't make him a killer either. I'm sure they were able to verify where he went afterwards by tracking his phone and doing all the things. Because I'm pretty sure he would have been looked into thoroughly, as well as the DoorDash driver, as well as the boyfriends were. The cigarette butt guy that they followed around and grabbed his cigarette butt from. There were a lot of people looked into before they got to Brian Kohberger. I've heard that the reason Dylan texted him, I've heard that's the reason Dylan texted him after they dropped them off was because where are y'all hearing that at though? That's always my question when people come in and tell me what they've heard. Where did you hear it at on somebody's stream? The affair could be entirely true, but what's that got to do with anything? That's what I'm asking. Where are y'all hearing it from? An affair would mean he's married because Bethany was not. We've also heard that Bethany was getting it on with a couple people, so I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm careful about what I hear and where it came from. That's the only reason why I ask.
We have to question everything, right? Everything that we get in this case.
Well, any case, it's fair to question things, but putting stuff out as a fact when it's not is dangerous, right? I mean, I just did a video where Tommy Jude admitted making up the rumor about Maddie flushing all these drugs down the toilet. Do y'all know what that rumor caused? I mean, I've got the video up right now on my channel. Please go watch it. So when you admit to making up a rumor and then watching people on YouTube run with it without ever correcting it, that story grew so tall it was pathetic. That it was a drug house, that it was a drug deal gone bad. It was the cartel hit because Maddie flushed all those thousands of fentanyl pills down the toilet. What did you tell Adam? I told Adam everything. They're going to get you for that. That's not what he said. We're going to get you some grubs, Maddie, and we're going to go home because Maddie was drunk, needed to eat, sober up a little bit. So be real careful about where you get your information. If you got a receipt to back it up, please bring it to me. But by all means, I'll put it out there. We'll go with it. But I just need to know where you're hearing stuff from so I can get a good grasp on it, if that makes sense. It's in the court docs. What's in the court docs? What did I miss? There is a transcript, yes, of the 911 call, Dr. Vonda. It's in one of the court filings, and we went over it on my channel. We read the document, actually, and read the text. Now, the 911 call itself does not jive up with that transcript. There are different things about it, and we knew when we read the transcript that wasn't the entire 911 call. And we also knew that when we read the text messages, because the girls, Dylan and Bethany, were texting during this whole thing. When Dylan was hearing and seeing things, she's texting Bethany downstairs. The PCA clearly stated they used the downloads from the surviving roommates' phones. I heard somebody say just yesterday, they didn't even have Bethany's phone. Go read the PCA. They downloaded both of the girls' phones to help establish the timeline. Now, why would they need the girls' phones to do that? Because they were communicating during the crime, not knowing the crime was occurring. How the hell they didn't realize it is beyond me. I can't explain it. But that's what was occurring. And so the timeline is there. And on the 911 call, the girls were tried to say about the man they saw at 4 a.m. And then both times they're interrupted to know, I need to know what's going on right now, right? Once the cops got there, they could tell their story about what was happening at 4 a.m. And now we found this. So I think people need to, slow down and look at the bigger picture. We're going over all the documents on my channel, Dr. Vonda, as they come out, and we're reading them. So you're welcome to go back and look through and see those. And I usually try to drop the links to documents in my community tab if y'all want them. Like, I don't always remember to do it, but there's a particular document we read through. You can leave a comment. Hey, can you drop the link to this document? And I'll certainly do it.
All right.
Did I hijack your show, Joe? Sorry. I was just trying to address the questions in chat because the chatters make it happen. They hear so many places. And so when they're telling us this stuff, I like to engage and figure out where it's coming from. What can we learn from this? What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? That's a good question.
Right. If I didn't communicate with the community, I have no business being on YouTube. Sorry.
And I appreciate everybody in chat with your challenging questions for sure, because we all need to be challenged. 857's in the house.
857 last night. Oh yeah. Last night I was doing some research, some work. About 11, I think it was, and I saw that he was live. So I went and listened. And the funny thing is, I can listen to a scanner in the background all night long and it wouldn't bother me. So I had that thing sitting there on forever listening, to the scanner with them last night until I finally got done and went on to bed. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was my first time going in there and listening to that.
All right. So there were a couple of documents dropped in Lori Vallow Daybell Thursday and Friday that we need to go over. So we'll go over the one on Thursday first. It's not as interesting as the one from Friday, but we'll go over this one first. All right, can we zoom in a little bit? There we go. We'll zoom in. The state's final trial management conference pretrial statement. God, they just add words upon words upon words. The joint pretrial statement lists charges and sentencing range. Count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. So this is of Charles Vallow. C1F dangerous. 7/11/2019, 7/11/2019. Arizona 13-1003D, life without the possibility of release on any basis until the service of 25 years. So it's actually 25 years to life. So it's not life without the possibility of parole like it is in Arizona. Obviously, Idaho. We know in Idaho that she's not ever getting out of jail. like 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. But in this one, on the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, it's actually 25 to life. That's news to me. I didn't know that until Thursday when they posted these documents. Settlement status, plea offer, no offer. They're not offering her a plea agreement ever, and she's not taking one ever. No settlement conference occurred. Are the defendant and the state willing to further discuss a settlement? No. She says no. They say no. They're in agreement on that. The number of trial jurors and alternates is important, 12 plus 4, because actually in the hearing Tuesday, the judge said maybe we'll do 3 alternates, but they agreed to 4. So they're going to have 16 to get to that. In Idaho, they had to go through 1,900 juror candidates, 1,900 to get to 16. That's just crazy. And there was a discussion about that on Tuesday. You can go back and look at my in courtroom boots on the ground from Tuesday night or Tuesday afternoon to see the details of what they talked about in those juror questionnaires. They talked about the juror questionnaire. They talk about specific questions in the juror questionnaire. List of potential witnesses. The state's witnesses, Chandler Police Department, and we have watched both body-worn cam from the Chandler Police Department as well as interview room footage from the Chandler Police Department. But actual officers that are on the witness list, Daniel Coons, Nathan Duncan, Marissa Francisco, Jason Hunsaker, Robert Krautheim, William McDonald, Nathan Moffat, Ariel Werther, Erwin Wierzbicki. That kind of seems like a Polish name. And I'm a quarter Polish, so I dig it. Cassandra Inclan from the Chandler Fire Department. So these would be emergency medical people responding probably to the scene of Charles Vallow's murder. Kent Keller, Scott Cowden. Department of Public Safety, Jeff Moberg. OME, Office of Medical Examiner. Okay, OME, Dr. Derek Baumgartner. Office of the Inspector General, Mark Sari. That may have to do, so the Inspector General, that may have to do with their Social Security fraud, that they were taking money from the kids' accounts afterwards. Maybe. Banner Life Insurance. Robin Smith Scott, custodian of records. So we know that Lori thought that she was still the benefactor of Charles's $1 million life insurance policy when he was unalived.
Yes, she didn't
And
know he had changed it yet.
Yes, she didn't know until like 3 or 4 days later that Kay Woodcock was named as the beneficiary. And we actually have text messages of Lori to Chad saying, what the hell, he changed it. Like, I'm summarizing. That's not obviously verbatim, but what the hell, I'm not the beneficiary, Kay is, type of thing. Dr. Vonda Kay, 200 jurors at a time. That is actually what the judge said, yes.
Yeah, Joe, let me just say something. Dizzy, honey, I didn't mean to give you a lecture. You asked a question and I responded and I added to it. And that wasn't directed at you in general. You know what I'm saying? It was not. It was like a blanket statement about this because I genuinely want to know where y'all got the information that Bethany was having an affair to start with. So when you ask a question, I asked a question, then I added to it, but I wasn't meaning anything negative towards you. Like I wasn't trying to lecture you. But I would like to know where y'all got the information from.
That would be cool to find out. Like that would actually be really cool to find out.
It's
Hey,
kind of
Joey,
important.
good to see you in here. Joey's in here.
Oh, nice.
Joey is like Miss Shorty's main man. Good to see you in here, buddy. She has a thing for Joes. Like she interviewed Joe Tacopina. She interviewed me. She's got Joey being there, the right-hand man. I'm just kidding. Okay, so Banner Life Insurance, we know that Charles changed his beneficiary. Lori didn't know that he did when he was unalive. Like at the moment of his death, she did not know that she was not the beneficiary because she contacted the life insurance company after Alex shot him to death and said, hey, I want to collect this $1 million. And they're like,
Hey, the call is out there. The call
Yeah.
to that insurance company is out there. Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So the state's also going to call Christina Atwood, Adam Cox. So that's the other brother. That's the other brother that's still alive. He's got to be careful. Adam, beware. Beware, buddy. She's dangerous. Nancy Jo Hancock, I don't know that. Serena Sharp, I don't know her. Kay Woodcock, obviously I know Kay. Obviously I know Kay. I mean, not personally, but I know who Kay is. Estimated trial days, 5 weeks. Ooh. Damn it. I just booked my Airbnb and it was only for 4.5 weeks. I'm going to have to book a second one. I'm going to have to extend. Brief statement of case to be read to jury. So, oh gosh, this is big right here. This is the state's case in chief. The state alleges that on July 11th, 2019, at approximately 7:37 a.m. So Charles was paying for a house for Lori and JJ and Tylee to live in Chandler, Arizona. And he was still living in Houston because they were estranged and they were working on a divorce. He came into town that day to say, I'm going to pick up JJ and I'm going to take him to school. And that's when everything went down. So at approximately 7:37 a.m., Charles Vallow arrived at 5531 South Four Peaks Place, Chandler, Arizona, to pick up his son from the residence where his wife, Lori Vallow, now Lori Daybell, was living. The state further alleges that Lori Vallow Daybell conspired with her brother, Alex Cox, to kill her husband, Charles Vallow, so she could marry Chad Daybell and obtain money from Charles Vallow's life insurance policy, which we just talked about, and from Social Security. So that's where this, we go back up to the bottom of page 1. No. State's witnesses. Office of the Inspector General, Mark Sari. I believe that will have to do with the Social Security fraud. Mark Sari. Anyway. So that's their case in chief. It's pretty simple. Special jury voir dire questions to be filed separately. List of standard jury instructions to be filed separately. And that's it for that. But, I mean, that tells a lot. I mean, the state's case in chief is pretty simple. So we're going to see lots of interest.
Do you see you got a super sticker?
What, Miss Shorty? What
super
are you
chat,
doing,
whichever,
girl?
I don't know. Well, thank you, Miss Shorty.
Yes, thank you so much.
I was telling Joe, I went back last night and caught your show on replay last night. You guys did a good job.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
It was
Hell
good.
yeah.
It really was. I enjoyed it.
I was raw and I was real, and I'm not always raw and real.
Well, you were comfortable with her, you were comfortable with her, so you were able to open up. So
thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that very much. It's very generous. All right, so that was the document that was filed on Thursday. And we are going to have to look at the document that was filed on Friday now. Because this involves the courtroom cameras and the pool camera. And I've already contacted the Maricopa Superior Court Public Information Officer, and he has given me the contact with Court TV to access the pool camera. So I'm hoping that maybe we'll be able to rebroadcast that on my channel. We'll see. We'll see what the rules are, what the regulations are, what the process is to be able to do that. But that's what I have applied for, is to rebroadcast the trial on my channel, but also be there in person.
Yeah, you can, if Court TV has the pool, right? Once that broadcast is out there, you can play it. You can play it live on your channel, watching Court TV live, or you can play it later and watch it. Court TV doesn't strike people like that.
No, but you have to be careful, because the judge on Tuesday said there will be a delay. And he said like 1 to 2 minutes in the hearing, and it's not going to be 1 to 2 minutes, as we will soon see on this document. This is filed on March 14th, but it says March 11th in the top right. So I don't know if I have the right document. Let's find out. Status conference. Court reporter Carol Dillon reported proceedings. Discussions held with respect to Court TV's camera request. Let the record reflect that Matthew Kelly, okay, so he was the dude that was at the hearing on Tuesday, presents an argument to the court on behalf of Court TV. Defendant objects to the request, and the state takes no position. After discussion, the court will issue a detailed order. Discussion is held with respect to jury selection. Oh, this is just a summary of the court hearing on Tuesday. So this is nothing to do with a final confirmatory order. I'm sorry. I thought. Okay, here, no. Later. Okay, later. Whew, I'm glad I scrolled down, because I was like, this doesn't seem like anything has been definitively decided. It is ordered denying the defendant's request to consolidate trials, which was super funny, because when the state said, yeah, we can combine the trials, Lori was like, no, I'm not asking for that. So did she request them? It doesn't matter. They're denied. The court's minute entry ruling regarding media access. I'm going to highlight this page that I'm reading. The court's minute entry ruling regarding media access, which was filed September 4th, provides the appropriate findings regarding why the court is overruling the defendant's continuing objection to media coverage. So she's going to object to cameras being in the courtroom during her trial that she requested. She reached out to Keith and to Dateline to have an interview. So I only want to be on camera and on TV under my terms. And I want to control the narrative, which is why we only got like actually 15 minutes of interview during that hour and a half, because she wanted to control the narrative. And she still wants to control the narrative, and that's why she's acting as her own attorney.
Okay, and the thing about that is, when she's there in court as her defense, you have to pretend that's a real defense attorney for a minute and not Lori Vallow. Because the argument she put forth about the cameras, almost the same argument that Ann Taylor put forth about cameras in Brian Koberger's case. Like, this is not, it's kind of a standard thing that defense attorneys are doing. Don't zoom in on my client. Don't, let them dress in suits, because they want to normalize and humanize the client. In this case, she's client and defense attorney. So I didn't have an issue with her argument, because I've seen that same argument from other defense attorneys. And that's what keeps cameras in the courtroom. The judge in Idaho warned Court TV, you zoom in again, you're out. What'd they do the very next hearing? zoomed right in on Coburger. Almost got cameras kicked out of the courtroom. So
Right, and the Lafayette Journal and Courier reporter was behind me in line one day in Delphi, and he said the reason that Gull was able to ban cameras from broadcasting the Delphi trial was because Court TV continued to air a portion of the hearings that were supposed to be off record. Like they went off record, so Court TV was supposed to stop airing, and they didn't. And Judge Gull used that, and most of us probably believe that she did it surreptitiously, like to broadly ban cameras for the rest of the trial. Like just from that one pretrial hearing, Court TV screwed up, boom, done. No more cameras in court ever for the rest of the hearing and the trial. No more hearings, no more trial, no more cameras. So, I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing. Court TV, what are you doing? What are you doing, Court TV? So frustrating.
the thing is, they don't even need Court TV. In the Letitia Stock case, during her entire trial, that judge had a fixed camera that he controlled. And it was focused right there on the defense table and the prosecution the entire time. You never saw the jurors, none of that. One fixed camera controlled by the court is a simple, easy solution. So Court TV getting in there with their little special cameras, okay, but the court also has a camera. We don't even need Court TV. And then the court will release it to the pool, right? That's how it usually works.
100%. There are solutions, and it doesn't have to be just kicking everybody out of court unless you're Judge unless you're Judge Cole. Yeah. All right. So the court finds no compelling public interest in broadcasting the jury selection. So I will be there for jury selection, and I will take notes and I will find things of interest during jury selection. I'll be paying particular attention to the defense counsel and to see how she voir dires the jurors. She tried to make a motion that the potential jurors be voir dired individually because her argument was that they can pick up bad habits from other juror candidates if they're voir dired in a group setting. And the judge is like, and we're all like, lady, that's going to take like 5 years to get through the jury if we voir dire them individually.
Yeah, they narrow it down, then they do them individually.
Right, exactly. While transparency in the legal process is important, juror anonymity strikes the necessary balance between openness and the burden placed on those responsible for delivering justice. In addition, anonymity ensures that the potential jurors will give candid answers to questions asked during the voir dire process. Broadcasting jurors' answers during the jury selection process could chill the willingness of jurors to give complete and candid answers. Yes, so we're not going to have cameras in the courtroom. All right, skip to the end of that paragraph. For these reasons, pursuant to Arizona RS 21312, Arizona Rules of Criminal Procedure 18.3, and Arizona Supreme Court Rules 122D and 123E10, it is ordered cameras will not be allowed in the courtroom during the jury selection process. Fair enough.
They usually aren't.
Nope. I remember, I think Bob and Andrea went up to Fort Wayne for the juror selection process in Delphi.
Yeah, that's not something that's usually aired anyway.
Right. It is ordered cameras will not be allowed. It is further ordered granting and denying the media requests in part. It is further ordered denying the request for more than one outside camera being present in the courtroom. Yes, thank you. Because that dude, whatever his name was, and we just saw it up earlier in the process, earlier in this document from Court TV, the representative of Court TV, he's like, yes, we want to be the pool feed the pool camera feed supplier for all media access, but we also want to have like 3 or 4 other cameras in the courtroom.
He said they had 2 cameras that they could remotely operate
Right.
that
And
they
the
wanted
judge
to
is
bring
like-
in.
Right. And the judge at the time, Judge Boreski at the time, was like, not inclined to grant that, but I'll rule on it later. I'm glad. I like this ruling. 1 camera's enough, dude. You
Yeah,
don't
like
need
I
to
said,
have
that 1 fixed camera, it worked perfectly fine in Letitia's
Yep.
stock trial.
Yep. So it is further ordered denying the request for more than 1 outside camera being present in the courtroom and denying the request for the use of a still camera in the courtroom. Yeah, they didn't just want another like remote controlled video camera. They wanted a still camera. It's denied. Denied court TV. Wah, wah. It is further ordered that once the jury is selected and sworn, media coverage will be limited to 1 pool camera positioned in the back of the courtroom. The pool camera shall not broadcast, stream, or otherwise distribute any courtroom footage not less than 30 minutes after a minimum of a 30-minute broadcast delay. That makes a lot more sense than 1 to 2 minutes, because if they catch something they shouldn't catch, like a juror on camera, like in the Karen Reed case, we gotta like hit the mute button. We gotta hit the stop button. Shall mute any audio during bench conferences. Okay, that makes sense. Shall not capture, record, or broadcast the image or any portion of any juror. Makes sense. Shall not film any witnesses or attorneys who approach or leave the witness stand area, as that they may inadvertently capture jurors in the back. Ooh. What? We can't film any witnesses? That's crazy. They shall not film any witnesses.
They didn't in Letitia's. Okay, in Letitia's stock trial, they didn't have the witnesses on the witness stand. You could hear their testimony. We did see the doctor. We did see some of them, but I don't understand why they don't want the witnesses. I mean, I don't know. That's weird.
That's.
Because we did see some of the witness testimony coming out of Letitia's trial.
Right. Shall not film any witnesses or attorneys who approach or leave the witness stand area, as that may inadvertently capture jurors in the background.
Oh, because of the way that's because of the courtroom, the way it's set up in there. You said it was tiny.
It is, and the camera is set up on the left side behind the defense table, but if they moved it over to the right side, you could capture the witnesses without any risk of capturing the jury. So it's 100% how the courtroom is set up, because there is a jack in the wall that the court pool camera plugs into for audio and video. And if they have to be on that left side behind the defense table, then yes, there is a risk of capturing a juror while you're recording a witness. If they would just change that to a different courtroom, I guarantee you we would be able to see witnesses on camera, but we're not going to be able to. Ooh, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
Well, why?
Because we can't see witnesses. Like if you're recording a trial,
if you're able to hear them, is that not? We know who they're going to.
That's halfway. But the jurors are going to get to see the witness's face, like how they respond to questions on direct and on cross and on redirect and on recross, like that those facial expressions.
Oh, you want to body analyze them? So I'm just. I don't have a problem with it, honestly. If it's going to risk throwing a juror in it inadvertently, it is what it is. If it's a small courtroom, but if I can hear it, there's a camera in the courtroom, and I can hear all the audio, then I don't have a problem with it. Especially after what we went through in Delphi. I mean, I understand it. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to let it like bother me too much. I understand where you're coming from. I do. But if that's all they can do, that's all they can do. Even if they move it,
Right?
maybe they
Yeah.
still have a
Let's do
concern.
them. Yeah. Let's do the most court will let us do. But that's just that number 4 to me is a big deal. That's a big deal because, and we'll take, for instance, Karen Reed, like without being able to see the McAlberts testifying and Karen Reed, I would not probably have formed such a strong opinion as I did, but I wasn't a member of the jury. But I mean, that's the whole point of broadcasting it, is for us to form our own opinions, right? I don't know. It's at least we'll have a camera in there. That rule is an unusual one to me. That strikes me as very unusual. So you can't show any witness as they're testifying on the stand. What are we going to be seeing? Are we going to be seeing her shackles? Are we going to be seeing her feet? Are we going to be seeing the back of her head? What are we going to be seeing when they're broadcasting the video of the trial and they can't show the witnesses?
Okay. We got 2 people in our chat having a very interesting conversation. You girls, oh my goodness. Truth, I don't know. I don't know how much you followed the Delphi case, but when we talk about the Aryan Nation white supremacy stuff in that Delphi case, it's because the Odinist prison gangs and the Odinists who practice, they absolutely incorporated white supremacy into their brand of Odinism, if you want to call it that. And when I tell you to go look at the Poverty Law Center website, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, honey. It's backed up and verified. That is exactly what they were doing. So, they may not be your average Aryan nation, so you think won't hurt children. I don't know anything about that, honestly, but these particular Odinists and what they incorporated, they absolutely would. I'm just saying, go look at the Southern Poverty Law Center, guys, and look up some information. You'll see it all right there. Young Black Economist wants to know, has a witness list. Are you talking about the witness list in the Lori Vallow case, hon? Lori issued hers, right, Joe?
Yes, correct. And we went over that a couple of days ago.
Yeah, you can. She did list Brian Enton, the news reporter from East Idaho News. She's got him on her defense with Nate. What did I say, Brian?
Yeah.
I don't know what I said. But yeah, she's got him listed on her witness list. Crazy, right?
Yeah. And she listed her own sister in there and misspelled her sister's last name. So good job, girl. Good job. I'm glad she's the smartest person in the room.
Okay, Truth. He's like, no matter what you say, I get you, girl. I get you. But these weren't regular, this wasn't your regular brand of. I get it. White supremacists normally wouldn't do that, but mixed up with Odinism, that's a whole different ballgame. That's all I'm saying.
Truth. So I was in the August 1st hearing in Delphi. We're gonna have to take a little sidetrack down in Delphi. I was in the August 1st hearing, which was the third party / Odinist day in the pretrial hearings. And Amber Holder was called to the stand. So she's Brad Holder's ex-wife. And she testified that she was a worshiper of the lesser Norse gods. She said there's no such thing as Odinism. We don't worship Odin. We worship the lesser Norse gods. And she said,
go ahead.
We did practice some sacrifice, like Brad took my hand and he cut my hand open and dripped my blood on some type of a thing or another. She said, but Odin protects women and children. So anybody who truly worships, who truly follows this religion, would never sacrifice women and children. So that's what she testified to in court. And I will grant her beliefs. And I will also say at the same time, people have been doing evil things in the name of religion for centuries, for millennia.
Yeah.
And
You got
go ahead.
no, go ahead and finish.
So they've been doing
Yes,
they've been doing
yes,
evil
preach
things
it.
in the name of Odin. They've been doing evil things in the name of Jesus Christ. They've been doing evil things in the name of Islam. They've been doing evil things in the name of Buddha for centuries. So
Semi-sharp. I'm glad you said that because I have met nobody else in this whole Delphi thing that gets it like I got it, right? So I know about Miss Holder's statement about the people who worship Odin wouldn't hurt kids or whatever because he's the protector. That wasn't correct, and I know that. But I didn't argue with people because they don't know where I'm coming from. But I can honestly see that you do. Now, Joe, you do have a couple of questions there. Who was it? True Crime Addict, and I think Dizzy as well wanted you to reread the part where about the jurors walking. The prosecution defense walking back and forth from the jury box.
yeah. So
Or to the witness box. I'm sorry, I read that wrong.
yeah,
Sorry.
item 4. So this may be specifically referencing witnesses as they enter the witness box and as they leave it. Let's not film them because as they enter and leave, maybe we'll see a juror in the background. So I appreciate that interpretation, and that helps me figure it out more. So item number 4, the pool camera shall not film any witnesses or attorneys who approach or leave the witness stand area, as they may inadvertently capture jurors in the background. Okay, so that's exactly what happened in the Karen Reed case. So that's a good clarification, and I appreciate that. So we can't show any witnesses ever. It's just, let's not show them entering the witness stand. Let's not show them exiting the witness stand, so we don't inadvertently capture jurors. Yes, that's a good interpretation. I appreciate the correction.
And Dizzy commented too, yes, like not allowed to pan like they do in some trials, right?
Oh my gosh, the Fox 10 camera guy is ridiculous about that. Like, he can't keep his camera still. Like, if you watched either of the December hearings, his camera was like all over the place.
Who is Dr. G, True? I'm sorry, I'm listening to you and reading these comments at the same time. Y'all know I'll be reading comments. I can't help it. Who's Dr. G, Truth? Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I think I know who Dr. G is, but I'm going to let somebody else answer. All right,
Who?
item
Y'all
5.
don't keep it. Is it a big secret?
No. I think he's like a body. He's like a
Dr.
body
Gary
language
Ricardo?
expert. No, I think he's like a body language expert, Dr. G.
Oh,
if I remember right.
Dr. G is a body language expert, and
I think.
He explains the Odin theory, debunked it a long time ago, says Truth, whoever Dr. G is. So I was just curious as to who Dr. G was. Dr. Grande, Libertarian says Grande? Thank you. Okay, Truth. Truth's going to send it to me. Thank you. Yeah, Gary Bricado. Miss Shorty, have you seen some of that stuff, that press conference he held that time with the attorney who's representing Shannon Gilbert and her family in the Rex Heuermann case? Oh my God. I was surprised to see Dr. Gary up there, but it was like, holy cow. He's a licensed clinical psychologist. Yes, Dr. Gary is.
Okay. Gotcha. We have to check that out. All right. So continuing through this document, item number 5, the court pool camera shall screen and edit out any inadvertent filming of any juror prior to broadcast. So the court TV representative, when he stood up there in court, said, we can't control the court camera feed after it leaves, after we distribute it. So, in other words, they are not in control of the delay or the screening and editing out of inadvertent filming of a juror. So anybody who receives that camera pool feed will be responsible on their own part for controlling that delay and controlling that screening out. That's what he made in court, and it'll be interesting to see if court TV does just send out a raw feed and one of the people that received that feed inadvertently shows a juror, like what will happen after that. Because, you know, each individual receiver and broadcaster of that pool camera feed is responsible for their own delay of their own screening of any inadvertent, inappropriate things on their own feed. So will they be banned from filming or from broadcasting anymore? Will they get an admonition from the court? Will they be sanctioned from the court? Court TV has already said, we're not responsible for that. Once it leaves our cameras or once it leaves our feed, it's done. It's in their hands. And that's probably not unreasonable. Number 6, shall not zoom in or focus on and record broadcast any materials on the attorney's desks and or materials being held or handled by the attorneys or defendant in order to prevent the unintentional broadcasting of any privileged or work product materials. I really felt like in that second hearing in December that the Fox 10 cameraman actually did focus in on the defense table after he was specifically told not to. But I also, on the other hand, don't feel like anything confidential was shown. So it's going to be interesting.
They had that problem in Idaho too. That the cameras were zooming in not only on Koberger but on the prosecution table as well. Laptops are open, notes are out. They got in trouble for it. They're not supposed to do it. Regardless if we could see anything or not, you know what I mean? There's a chance we might. So I don't have a problem with some of the rules as long as they get a damn camera in there.
Right. It is going to be a circus / shit show / whatever you want to call it.
V cracks me up, I swear. No, she says, truth, you're not going to change Salty's mind on a damn thing. What is she trying to change my mind about? Oh, did you send me something about Odinism or about Idaho Forest? I got a little confused. I got lost a little bit in y'all's conversation. Y'all was talking about two different things. I was trying to keep up. I mean, my mind can be changed if y'all got good reasons to, right?
We do find good reasons from time to time, but we also find a lot. Yeah, but we also find a lot of bad reasons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I'm always curious where people hear something, because if I hear it, before I go tell it, I want to be able to back that up where I heard it from. You know what I mean? I try to be that way anyway.
Yeah. All right, let's switch over to this missing college student.
So this Dr. G was a body language expert type of guy, and he supposedly debunked the whole Odinism stuff. I'll check it out. I'm willing to check it out. I'll link you, Joe.
I want to switch over to this University of Pittsburgh student who disappeared in Punta Cana.
Isn't that crazy?
In Dominican.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of theories about it now, but we just recently heard about the male companion that she was with that night. He's come out and he's said some things, but he's also said, at some point he clammed up and he said, I need an attorney. So that's the last video I have. So we're going to watch
if you're honestly now, okay, so you watch a lot of defense diaries. If you're starting to be looked at in a certain light, are you supposed to ask for an attorney?
Absolutely, 100% of the time.
All right. There we go.
So I don't blame him for that at all. And we'll talk about that when we get to the longer video. I've got
lawyer up, people.
I've got 4 or 5 shorter videos to watch that go in like chronological order from when she first disappeared to when they continued to look for her and they continued to find out this guy that was with her that day. So let's play this like kind of in chronological order and we can stop as we need to.
No sound.
Are you kidding? Are you
No.
freaking kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Son of a frickin' fressing russet. Ugh. So how do I create sound? All right, I have a playlist. Like I'm just playing it from my playlist like I normally do. I'm going to try it one more time, and then I'll switch to another. I'll switch to another. Yeah. Tell me as soon as you can if you can or cannot hear audio in this.
Our top story tonight:
Got
family
it.
and desperate to find this missing University of Pittsburgh student. She vanished while on spring break in the Dominican Republic. We are tracking this search. We know the 20-year-old was last seen walking on the beach at a resort on Thursday, and overnight, a Dominican Republic search and rescue team began their search. So far, no signs of her. News Nation's Nick Smith is tracking the details. Nick, what are we hearing?
We're hearing that investigators are asking anyone with information about her last whereabouts to let them know immediately. University of Pittsburgh student Sudiksha Konanki was last seen Thursday near a resort just before 5 a.m. Now, several agencies taking part in an all-out search for the missing woman, including the Dominican Civil Defense, local firefighters, and the Dominican Navy. Those directly involved in the search are urging anyone with information about her to contact authorities immediately. We do know that she is 5'3" tall and was last seen wearing her brown swimsuit with large round earrings, a metal designer anklet on her right leg, and a couple of bracelets. The Defensa Civil, a Dominican Republic search and rescue team, have been working since early Saturday to find her. It's unclear what led up to her disappearance, but because she is also a citizen of India, the Embassy of India in the Dominican Republic has taken the lead, and they are working with the State Department. But on the issue of safety concerns in this country, the U.S. State Department has a level 2 travel advisory for the Dominican Republic. In a statement, which reads in part, the State Department says violent crime, including armed robbery, homicide, and sexual assault, is a concern throughout the Dominican Republic. It isn't immediately clear if those who had been traveling with the 20-year-old have returned from the trip or where they were last seen when she was spotted. A spokesperson for the University of Pittsburgh told local media that university officials are in contact with her family. Natasha, the university and state officials offering their full support to find her and bring her home safely.
Yes, certainly. We appreciate you tracking those details. Nick Smith with us tonight. Thank you. And joining us now with more.
So just making sure we pause here, pause to comment, because this is fair use of somebody else's stream. This is one of the first reports that we got out from this, and I think most of us heard this on the national news. But it's like somebody remind me who the other famous case of the missing gal was, where Jordan Vandersloot, was that his name?
Yes.
Like eventually ended up confessing to that, but he also unalived somebody in Brazil, somewhere in South America. Natalie Holloway. Yes. Thank you, Tammy.
Yes. The Natalie Holloway case.
Yeah. And it's so funny because on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, Steve posted something about another sex trafficking crime on another case. And I was like, well, you know, there are people that believe that that may have been involved in this case. And somebody jumped on there on his feed and said, name me one time when somebody's gone missing in Dominican Republic. And I'm like, seriously? And I just did like a 5-minute Google search and there were like 10 cases in 5 minutes. It's like, get the fuck out of here, clown. Like, seriously? That's like a prime area for that type of activity. And that may not be what happened here, because we're going to see that she went out into the water with this guy and he claims that they were carried out into the sea by a big wave, and there were actually red flag warnings on that beach. So this may actually be a case of she got carried away, but it may also not be. It may also not be there. We have questions.
It happens on the Gulf of Mexico all the time, especially all summer, regardless if the red flags are flying or not. Them tourists are going to get out there anyway. And the next thing they know, they're in an undercoat and they're gone.
But here's the thing. Here's the twist. We're going to see in one of the news segments coming up. They made it back to shore before she disappeared. So they may have gotten carried away, but they made, according to this guy's testimony, they made it back to shore before she disappeared. So that, I have questions about that. Like, if you want to claim that you were swept out to sea and you made it back by yourself, would actually be a better argument than we both made it back and then she picked up her clothes and she wandered off by herself. Just saying. I have questions. I have lots of questions. Make it make sense.
More is Sheriff Mike Chapman of Loudoun County, Virginia, where this missing 20-year-old Pittsburgh University student is from. Sheriff, thank you for taking the time tonight. What do we know so far about this?
So just as a brief introduction to this guy, Loudoun County, Pennsylvania is where she lived as a University of Pittsburgh student. I think she was a graduate student, actually. But so they actually have no jurisdiction in the Dominican Republic, but they did send down detectives to assist in the investigation. So this is the chief of the Loudoun County, Pennsylvania Sheriff's Office or Police Department, whatever it is.
About this search.
Natasha, good to be with you. We're doing everything in our power. I mean, we take this incident very, very seriously, especially considering she's a resident of Loudoun County. We're working very hard with the authorities down there in Dominican Republic, whether it's their national police, their Coast Guard, their domestic police. I know they've done everything so far in their power to locate her, helicopters, drones, boats. But we're also working with certainly the embassy in India. We're working with our U.S. embassy down there, and to include several federal counterparts, which would be the DEA, HSI, FBI, and the University of Pittsburgh as well. So we're leaving no stone unturned on this. We're doing everything that we can to try to get to the bottom of this and help out the family here. We have reached out to the mom and dad. Unfortunately, haven't been able to get through just yet. I believe they're on travel right now, getting down there and probably getting briefed up on this. But we are very, very concerned about this, and it means a lot to try to do everything we can to find out what is going on down there.
Yeah, so you believe that her family is actually en route. They're traveling to the Dominican Republic to get on the ground there.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Mm-hmm.
What is your biggest concern right now?
Well, my biggest concern is that we just don't know. I mean, anything's a possibility right now. We hope there's no foul play. We hope there's nothing of any major concern. We're hoping and praying that she gets returned, that she returns safely. We just don't know. But I can tell you that we're working with the authorities down there to interview everybody that certainly that she was down there with. I mean, she traveled down there from the University of Pittsburgh with 5 other friends. We do know that she went to the beach with several people. That's the last sighting that we had of her early in the morning on the 6th, which was Thursday morning. We're doing everything that we can to try to, figure out what we can from the interviews that are being done down there.
So he's running over the details of their participation in this investigation really quickly. So I'm just going to back up and listen to that one more time. Because like I said, they have no jurisdiction, but they can send investigators down, and it's up to Dominican Republic how much they allow them to participate.
She went to the beach with several people. That's the last sighting that we had of her early in the morning on the 6th, which was Thursday morning. We're doing everything that we can to try to, figure out what we can from the interviews that are being done down there, from any phone communications that would have been done, by any text messages that would have been done. So it's going to take a little while for that, but we are working very closely with everybody that I mentioned involved. Get to the bottom of this.
Do you know if the other students who went on the spring break trip with her have already returned to the U.S.?
I believe they're coming back tomorrow. I think there's several that have stayed behind to be interviewed by Dominican authorities down there. And again, working with our federal counterparts as well. We're trying to do everything we can here and doing whatever research that we can as well up here in Loudoun County. So
Can you imagine that? You go on vacation with a bunch of friends to this tropical island. Y'all go out to the beach one night, late at night, and y'all come back from the beach, but not all y'all. One of you does not make it back.
I wish these young girls would learn to stop going down to the beach with strange guys.
I don't know that he was that strange of a guy. I think he might have been one of the group because he's a white dude. He's an American white dude. So how much of a stranger, I guess my question is, how much of a stranger was he to her? Because she went voluntarily with him out into the water and they were making out in the water.
They said when they all went down there as a group that she stayed down there with a gentleman. Now, I had never heard that he was part of their group. Is that going to be in some of this stuff here?
We need to find out. I have like 5 news clips pulled up, and some of it does get more into him, but I don't know that we necessarily have that question answered, and I do want that question answered. Like, how much do the other people in the group know him? Did they know him? Who knows?
I think they're coming back tomorrow. That's my understanding, but I think they were held down there because of the ongoing investigation.
Sure. And this beach belonged to the resort. To your knowledge, was there any sort of surveillance video of this beach?
I believe there is some video there that we're working off of, and we're hoping to get as much information from that as we can, and to try to pinpoint the exact times that she was last seen, and try to figure out where we can go from there.
Are there any leads at this time that you can?
That's like a typical resort beach with a bunch of beach chairs out there. That's like specifically for tourists. Like
it's like that all up and down the Gulf behind all the condos.
Right. And all across, like if you go to Roatan, Honduras, like that's what the situation looks like in Roatan, but you also see the red flag warning, and you don't see that everywhere. So people that ignore the red flag are subject to the tide.
Scene and try to figure out
right there.
Where we can go from there.
Are there any leads at this time that you can share with us?
It's an ongoing investigation. I think there are leads in the works here, but we are working very, very hard with everybody involved. It'd be premature for me to say anything more than that just yet, because we have so many people that are engaged in this investigation, and I don't want to misspeak because of that. And I want to make sure that whatever information that we get and that we put out is accurate.
I hear that. Are you hopeful she's still alive?
I'm always hopeful for that, and I certainly pray for that and for her parents, and we are very, very hopeful that that's the case.
I'm just going to pause right there because we need to give the victim some sort of respect. That's her. She's missing now. We don't know what happened to her. We don't know if she was swept out to sea and drowned. We don't know if she was abducted. We don't know if she was unalived. We don't know. But what a beautiful young lady.
But, we'll just have to see how this investigation unfolds, and we're doing everything in our power to try to find her.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
Breaking at 9A, we are continuing to follow the missing college student who vanished in the Dominican Republic, the young woman from Northern Virginia. It's been 4 days since that woman, a University of Pittsburgh student, went missing on a spring break vacation with her friends. And Fox 5's Stephanie Ramirez is live from her neighborhood in Chantilly with what we know. Stephanie, people are following this case all over.
So Chantilly is in Pennsylvania, which is where she lived while she was attending college at University of Pittsburgh.
Over the country.
All over the country, following very closely. We are in contact with people close to the family who tell us her parents are in the Dominican Republic as we speak, as this investigation continues for 20-year-old Sudiksha Kananki. She's a grad at the Thomas Jefferson High School in Chantilly before going to the University of Pittsburgh. Authorities saying that she went with 5 friends to the Dominican Republic and was last seen on their resort beach just before 5 in the morning last Thursday, March 6th. Now, by Saturday, the Dominican Republic's civil defense shared images of their search over the weekend. There's reporting that she may have drowned and reporting she was alone with someone else on the beach after her friends left. Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman speaking with Fox 5 this morning.
So this is the same guy. I may zoom past this. Bloop, 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 bloop. I'll do a Bob Mata bloop, bloop, bloop. So remained with a young man at the beach after her friends left. So she went to Punta Cana with 5 friends. So there were 6 of them, a group of 6. And they said she remained on the beach with this other young man. So it sounds to me like this other young man was not a part of that original group of 6.
I don't think he was. There's actual video footage of the friends coming back from the beach too.
Yes, and we'll see that coming up in a clip or 2.
The right information.
And guys, I can tell you, family and friends, they were asking everyone to please continue to share her photo, her information, and share any information you might have you think is important to the investigation with law enforcement. Sheriff Chapman saying that their prayers are with the family for a positive outcome. I'll send it back into you.
A 20-year-old college student from the U.S.
More
details about
that was it.
A 20-year-old college student from the U.S. still missing tonight. She was on spring break in the Dominican Republic.
Fox News correspondent Nate Foy has the latest on the investigation.
A desperate search is underway for 20-year-old Sudiksha Kananki. The University of Pittsburgh student was on a spring break trip with friends in Punta Cana, where she went missing early Thursday morning.
We want to find her. We want to hopefully find her safe and sound. Right now, there's just so much that we don't know.
Kananki arrived at the Dominican Republic on Monday and was last seen on surveillance video at 4:15 a.m. Thursday morning, heading to the beach with a group of people. Surveillance cameras capture that group later returning without Kananki, who is believed to have stayed behind with a young man. According to local reporting, authorities are now interviewing him to determine what happened leading up to Kananki's disappearance. Some local reports say authorities believe she may have drowned, but officials in Loudoun County, Virginia, where Kananki is from, say there's currently no evidence of that.
So the principal thing that you do in a situation like this is the FBI and our partners, the Dominican Republic, Civil Defense, and the Dominican Navy, they're searching for it, but they're also collecting as much information, putting together a footprint of exactly what and where she had been.
Kananki was officially reported missing 12 hours after she was last seen. Several Dominican agencies are conducting search efforts, with the Dominican Navy assisting and 4 drone teams deployed. Authorities in the U.S. and Dominican Republic are continuing to interview additional witnesses, and they're reviewing all phone and video records. In New York, Nate Foy, Fox News.
More details about Sudiksha Kananki's disappearance are coming to light.
So I'm trying to present these in more or less chronological order, but it's a little bit of a muddled mess, but each of the news clips that I'm presenting here give us a little bit of a different perspective on this case and on the details that we're finding out as we go along.
as authorities continue to search for the University of Pittsburgh student who went missing March 5th during a spring break trip in the Dominican Republic.
Young Black economist, actually, I think we might hear in one of these news clips, and I hope we do, because that addresses your question about drowning, is there were a handful of tourists who actually drowned just off of this beach in the recent past. It does have a very significant undertow, and that's why the red flags are put out for the red flag warning. So it's actually not inconceivable that she drowned. And we're also going to find out that this guy that she was with has been a lifeguard in his past.
A key witness is sharing his encounter with her on the beach. The man, who is not considered a suspect by the Dominican Republic authorities, says that he and his friend met Kononki.
So that's significant. Right now, he is not considered a suspect. He's not considered a suspect by Dominican Republic authorities. He's just somebody that they're interviewing. But by the Loudoun County, Pennsylvania investigators who went down there to assist in the investigation, he is a quote unquote person of interest. So she is still considered a missing person. This is a missing persons case. They haven't assigned foul play to this at all or ruled it, something that is that he's going to be something beyond a person of interest. But the detectives from Loudoun County who went down there have ruled him a quote unquote person of interest. So, but Dominican Republic, they're not there yet. They're just saying he's somebody that, has information for us to review, and we need to interview him.
Kononki and her friends after coming back to the Rue Republica resort from a party. Virginia's Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, where her family lives, has no jurisdiction over the case, but has sent detectives to Punta Cana to assist on the U.S. side. The Loudoun County authorities have also identified the unnamed man as a person of interest. Loudoun County Sheriff's Office spokesperson Thomas Julia told NBC News that a person of interest, quote, is not the same thing as a suspect, as this is not a criminal matter. It is still a missing person case. The witness told Dominican Republic investigators in a March 12th interview obtained by NBC News, "We all went to the bar. We had drinks, ordered some shots, and someone suggested..."
That's a pretty significant comment. We all went to the bar. We had drinks, ordered some shots, and someone suggested we go to the beach. Why wouldn't you? You're in Punta Cana. Go to the beach, have some drinks, go to the beach. Sounds like a good time, right?
Suggested we go to the beach. The witness shared in the interview that after removing his belongings and putting them on a chair, he and Kononki went into waist-deep water where they were talking and kissing a little. He said that a big wave came and swept them into the current. He noted, as soon as we were able to surface, we tried to call for help.
As soon as, so they waded in waist deep, and then according to his story, a big wave comes in, sweeps them out to sea. They surfaced. We tried to call for help. Nobody was there.
Help, but there was no one there. A Rue spokesperson told People in an email March 11th that red flags were placed on the beach before the incident as a warning of strong current and high waves. As a certified lifeguard, the witness told authorities that he grabbed Kononki and held her under his arm as he tried to swim back to shore.
So he grabbed her and held her under his arm, which is what we think of in the civilian population as the appropriate lifeguard move, right? You're trying to save somebody that's drowning out in the water. You wrap your arm around them, and then you try to swim with your other arm back to shore. So I can see that. I can picture that. That seems like a reasonable explanation of what happened at that point in time.
He said he kept trying to get her to breathe as he pulled them back to the beach, but struggled.
Wait, he tried to get her to breathe?
Yeah, that don't make no sense.
As he was bringing her back to shore?
Then
you're
something
doing
ain't right
CPR
right there.
in her? No, You're doing CPR on her while you're dragging her back to shore? No, you don't do CPR out in the middle of the water.
Okay,
You
first
get her.
you okay, even with all that, you get her up to shore and you can't do anything, you go run get help. You don't just pass out on the beach.
Well, it sounds like he's trying to do CPR on her while he's dragging her back to shore. Like they're still out in the water, and he's trying to get. I'm going to have to back it
But
up.
this
just a minute.
proves that if this is true and he got her and was doing all that, then he absolutely got her to shore. Or if he didn't get her to shore, why didn't he go for help right then and there? Weird.
Well, if you're a lifeguard, you might actually try and make CPR efforts to get her to start breathing again. Like I don't have a problem with that.
I understand that. You're missing my point. The point is, if he did all of that, why doesn't he know where she went? What happened to her?
We're going to see that. We're going to see that in another news story coming up. We're going to see that. What happens when they get back to shore? And no, it doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. But this doesn't make sense to me that he's like trying to get her to breathe while he's got her under one arm and like swimming her back to shore. You don't do CPR while you're like bringing somebody back to shore. You get her on the beach, you like do chest compressions. You
have to lay them down.
Yeah, you get the ocean water out of their lungs, and then you can do CPR after you like push the ocean water out of their lungs, but not while you're swimming them back to shore, which is what this sounds like to me. And it doesn't make sense at all, especially for somebody who is supposedly a former lifeguard. Doesn't make sense.
He said he kept trying to get her to breathe as he pulled them back to the beach, but struggled to catch his.
As he pulled them back to the beach, he tried to get her to breathe as he pulled them back to the beach. No. I'm not buying it.
Breath simultaneously. I swallowed a lot of water, he shared. I could have lost consciousness several times.
I could have lost consciousness several times. That sounds like he's diverting. That sounds like diversionary language. Like he's chaff and redirect. I could have lost consciousness several times. He doesn't say.
Was he still in the water when he did? I mean, come on, dude.
I don't. Right? I could have lost consciousness several times. That's not believable to me. Maybe he's just like out of his gourd, but that does not sound believable to me. I could have lost consciousness several times. Well, did you, dude, or did you not? Did you lose consciousness or did you not? Like, I think I would know when I lost consciousness several times. I think I would know. And I think I would.
Well, if you're in the water and you lose consciousness, you're going to drown.
Right. Yeah, you're dead. You're dead. Like they're pulling both of you out of the water at that point.
When I finally reached the ground on the beach, I pulled her in front of me. She went to gather her belongings since the sea had moved us.
What? You're nearly dead. You have to vomit the seawater out of your stomach. But she just goes and picks up her belongings. She just goes and gathers her stuff and she walks off, and I don't know where she went. This may not be like Jordan Vandersloot level of deception, but it's pretty damn close in my mind right now. Like he's got some splaining to do. Lucy, you got some splaining to do. This guy's got some splaining to do, and I'm not buying this.
He continued, she wasn't out of the water as it was up to our knees. She was walking at an angle in the water. The last time I saw her, I asked if she was okay. I didn't hear her answer because I started vomiting all the seawater.
There's no language translation issue. This is an American dude. We're going to see in the next video, I think, this dude is American. There's no translation issue here. This is not a
Dominican he was American.
Republican. Yes, 100%. So what we're seeing here is like verbatim what his report is to the police.
I'd swallowed. The witness explained that after, he looked around and didn't see anyone on the beach, so he thought she grabbed her belongings and left. I felt really bad and tired, he recalled. I laid down on a beach chair and fell asleep because I couldn't go far. Then I
Back that up. Boop, boop, boop. I felt really bad and tired. Oh my gosh. Dude, you're like laying yourself. This is a noose. I laid down on a beach chair and fell asleep because I couldn't go too far.
And is that while she was walking away to collect her belongings? Because
Yes.
honestly, with the way the Gulf is, it will carry you down. So you got to walk back. So he claims he laid down while she went to collect her stuff, and then he never saw her again.
But the phrase "I felt really bad and tired."
Mm-hmm. Well, he just struggled to get them both back to shore, Joe. He was wore out.
But is that how you would describe it if that's actually what happened? I don't know.
Dude, I mean, come on. We're looking at crazy 911 calls, all kind of stuff. It might have been just the way this dude talked. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm not a body language.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
He may have just talked that way. I felt really bad and tired. You know, I just pulled us out of the sea.
It doesn't resonate with me, but I'm not the legal expert. I'm not his lawyer. I'm not the prosecution. Maybe we'll find out.
fell asleep because I couldn't go far. Then I woke up because of the sun and mosquito bites. I went to my friend's room to get my phone. Then I went to my room to sleep.
Does not strike me as genuine. But then again, I'm not on the jury, and I'm not going to be on the jury.
You've never been woke up on the beach by 100 mosquito bites, I swear.
The sun and mosquito bites.
Oh, it's very real. I'm not saying this guy's innocent of anything. I'm not buying his story. But you can pass that on the beach and wake up.
His friend asked him if he knew where Konanki was the next day, to which he replied, "I thought she had gone to her room," but his friend told him she never returned. While 3 Dominican Republic officials close to the investigation told ABC News they believe Konanki died by drowning, no body has been recovered. Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman is determined to find a conclusive answer. He said on News Nation's Banfield March 10th, "I think it's way too premature to make an assumption like that. There has been no sighting of her in any capacity here, so it's very important that we go through all this like we do some detailed investigation. We are working closely with Dominican authorities."
All right, now the next one.
The last person to see a missing college student from Loudoun County is telling police what he remembers about the minutes leading up to her disappearance.
His name is Joshua Reeb. The young man said a big wave swept him and Sudiksha Konanki into the sea, but he helped her get back to the shore. The new details were revealed in the transcript of the interview Dominican Republic investigators conducted with Reeb Wednesday. Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey joins us now in the studio with more on what he had to say to investigators. Julie?
Well, first of all, the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office has called that 22-year-old senior from St. Cloud State University a person of interest, but the Dominican Republic authorities, they are not using that term. The detectives from Loudoun County also did what they call an extensive interview with him yesterday. No details from that yet, but it is a transcript from the session with Dominican authorities that's providing new information about this spring break mystery. A photo obtained exclusively by NBC News of the interview with Joshua Reeb. He's the last person known to have been with 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh.
This is the guy, people. This is the guy that she made out with in the water, supposedly waist deep, and was the last guy to see her alive.
Student Sudiksha Konanki. He says he and a friend introduced themselves to Konanki and her girlfriends at a bar where the group drank pink tequila shots, then went to the beach in the early morning hours. He said 2 of Konanki's friends sat on beach chairs, but he says he and Konanki waded into the ocean, telling investigators, quote, "We were in waist-deep water, talking and kissing a little. Next," he said, "a big wave came and hit us both, and with the rising water, it swept us out to sea." The investigator asking, "What happened next?" "As soon as we were able to surface, we tried to call for help, but there was no one there," said the young man. Reeb says he then used his lifeguard training to get them both back to shore, adding, I swallowed a lot of water. I could have lost consciousness.
Once again, that statement, I could have lost consciousness. Dude, did you or did you not lose consciousness? Like, for real. That's just such a red flag to me. I could have lost consciousness several times. That's a total bullshit cop-out, dude. What are you hiding? What are you being deceitful? What are you being deceitful about? You're being deceitful about something when you word it that way. I could have lost consciousness several times. No. I'm not having it.
Several times. When I finally reached the ground on the beach, I pulled her in front of me. She was.
And when I reached the ground on the beach, can't you just say when we reached the beach together?
Wasn't out of the water as it was up to our knees. She was walking at an angle in the water. The last time I saw.
So they came back. They made it back. They made it back to shore. They made it back to shore together. She didn't get dragged out to sea. She was walking at an angle in the water. So was that an angle out towards the ocean, or was that an angle towards the beach? The last time I saw her, I asked if she was okay. I didn't hear her answer because I started vomiting all of the seawater that I had swallowed.
I saw her, I asked if she was okay. I didn't hear her answer because I started vomiting all the seawater I'd swallowed. Reeb told investigators after becoming ill, he looked around, didn't see Konanke, and assumed she'd left the beach. He fell asleep there and didn't return to his room until 9:30 that morning. The investigator asking, "How did you find out the girl disappeared?" The witness replied, "My friend asked me if I knew where the girl was. I told him I thought she'd gone to her room, and he told me she never returned." On the advice of his attorney, Reeb declined to answer a number of questions, including what he thought about Konanke's disappearance. The extensive search for the missing pre-med student continues. Now, Joshua Reeb's parents just issuing a statement this evening, reading in part, "We express our deep sorrow and solidarity with the family of Sudiksha Konanke during this painful time. We share the hope that Sudiksha will be found as soon as possible." His parents also say their son has been fully cooperative, but has, quote, been detained.
Wait. No. He hasn't been fully cooperative. He invoked his right to an attorney. I wouldn't call that cooperative. I would call that invoking his constitutional rights, but I don't know what your constitutional rights are in Dominican Republic. But that's okay. You don't have to talk. You don't have to say anything. But he said some things, and then he shut up about some things. So what does that mean?
Detained under irregular circumstances and kept under police surveillance in his hotel room. They also expressed concern that he had been questioned before that Wednesday interview without proper translators and legal counsel, and they say that is why they have now hired an attorney there to represent him. And one last footnote, you may notice that we're no longer showing that security camera video of Konanke and Reeb. Her parents have asked that it not be used.
And that's why a follow-up.
What he says happened in his own words when he and Sudiksha Konanke were alone on the beach, out of sight of surveillance cameras before the sun came up, before she vanished.
So we need to have a talk about that for sure. Like, just the fact of enacting your right or invoking your right to an attorney does not make you guilty. It just makes you smart. Like, whether you're guilty or whether you're innocent, invoking your right to have an attorney present does not make you guilty. And I think we're going to hear in this. So this is a longer piece. This is a much longer piece. So we're going to have to stop and talk about it from time to time. But just invoking your right to an attorney does not make you guilty at all. That makes you smart.
Yeah. Nothing wrong. I mean, everybody should lawyer up at some point if you're being looked at for
Right.
anything.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, is he let some things go before he invoked his right to an attorney. And he invoked that right for other questions. So
That's not, yeah,
we
but
all-
that's not uncommon either. That's a very,
Right.
they'll start out answering questions and at some point they'll shut down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wouldn't even shut down. I mean, I would shut down from minute 1, minute 0. Give me an attorney.
We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We're now learning how Josh Reeby reportedly answered dozens of questions from investigators in the Dominican Republic, and we're also learning about the questions that he reportedly refused to answer. Dominican TV station Noticias SIN first got a copy of a 6-page transcript with 50 questions that were asked during an interview between Josh Reeby and local investigators. So let's walk through what we reportedly learned about the night that 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student Sudishka Konenki went missing and what it was like through the eyes of the last person to be with her. Reeby is a 22-year-old college student from Iowa who attends St. Cloud State University in Minnesota. He stayed at the same resort as Sudiksha. The report says that Reeby had 2 lawyers present for the interview, and the report also says he was interviewed as a witness to a missing persons case, not a...
So that's noteworthy that he had 2 attorneys with him during the interview. Very noteworthy.
A person of interest, like the Loudoun County, Virginia authorities labeled him this week, or a suspect. To be clear, no charges have been filed, and Dominican authorities have told media outlets they are treating this case as a missing persons investigation, not a criminal matter. Reeby told investigators that he and his friend met Sudishka and her friends in the hotel lobby of the Rio Republica resort the night that she went missing. The group went to one of the bars at the resort, had some drinks. It's an all-inclusive, and then he says that someone suggested they go to the beach. And that's where we can pick up the surveillance video of those moments. The same TV station that got the transcript, Noticias SIN, first acquired this surveillance video. Now, the video shows that Reeby has his arms around Sudiksha with their friends making their way to the beach at 4:15 in the morning. Reeby says when he got to the beach, he took off his shirt, his socks, and his shoes. Then at 5:55 a.m., we see...
So they're showing video of people leaving and entering the hotel. But
They just showed the video. Yeah, the 3 girls left and he was with them.
Yeah, we're going to watch that again.
Between Josh Reeby and local investigators. So let's walk through what we reportedly learned about the night that 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student Sudishka Konenki went missing and what it was like through the eyes of the last person to be with her. Reeby is a 22-year-old college student from Iowa who attends St. Cloud State University in Minnesota. He stayed at the same resort as Sudiksha. The report says that Reeby had 2 lawyers present for the interview, and the report also says he was interviewed as a witness to a missing persons case, not a person of interest, like the Loudoun County, Virginia authorities labeled him this week, or a suspect. To be clear, no charges have been filed, and Dominican authorities have told media outlets they are treating this case as a missing persons investigation, not...
So there we just saw the difference between how Dominican Republic officials are treating this and how Loudoun County is treating it. Dominican Republic law enforcement is treating him as a witness, whereas Loudoun County is treating him as a person of interest.
Not a criminal matter. Reeby told investigators that he and his friend met Sudishka and her friends in the hotel lobby of the Rio Republica resort the night that she went missing. The group went to one of the bars at the resort, had some drinks. It's an all-inclusive, and then he says that someone suggested they go to the beach. And that's where we can pick up the surveillance video of those moments. The same TV station that got the transcript, Noticias.
So, do we know who is where in this? I guess we'll find out. It's hard for me to figure it out. Like, is the suspect or the person of interest in the back? Like, is that him? And is that her? So there are 6 people. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out.
PCS-SIN first acquired this surveillance video. Now, the video shows that Reeby has his arms around Sudiksha with their friends making their way to the beach at 4:15 in the morning. Reeby says when he got to the beach, he took off his shirt, his socks, and his shoes. Then at 5:55 a.m., we see most of that group heading back to the hotel, leaving Reeby and Sudiksha behind. Reeby says that he and Sudiksha went into the water where they kissed. This is again from the transcript of his interview with authorities. He says the water reportedly was about waist high, and he says then they were hit by a wave and carried out to sea. Now, this beach, it has been known to have some dangerous surf. In fact, 4 tourists who were staying at this same resort earlier this year.
4 tourists. 4 tourists. I got to replay that because he said 4 tourists. Like that's almost like a Ford Taurus.
Dangerous surf. In fact, carried out to sea. Now, this beach, it has been known to have some dangerous surf. In fact, 4 tourists who were staying at this same resort.
4 tourists. I'm sorry. I'm so juvenile. I can't help it. 4 tourists.
It has been known to have some dangerous surf. In fact, 4 tourists who were staying at this same resort earlier this year all died in a drowning. Reeby told investigators that he and Sudiksha called for help, but since this was the early hours of the morning, there was no one there to help them or hear them. They then tried to swim, and Reeby said Sudiksha was getting tired. We translated this report that was in Spanish by Noticias SIN into English, and this is what Reeby reportedly told investigators next. Quote, I was holding her under my arm and swimming to get her out of the water. The investigator asked, what happened next? He replied, quote, it took me a long time to get her out. It was hard. I've been a lifeguard in pools, not in the sea. I was trying to make sure she kept breathing at all times.
So here we have more details on him trying to bring her back to shore and make sure she kept breathing at all times. I'm just not, I personally, I don't understand how you do both at the same time. You get her to shore, clear out her lungs, and then do CPR.
I couldn't breathe the whole time and swallowed a lot of water. I could have passed out several times.
I could have passed out several times. That just what, somebody make that make sense to me, please. I could have passed out several times. Make that make sense.
When I finally touched the ground on the beach, I placed her in front of me. Reeby then says Sudiksha.
I placed her in front of me? What the? We're going to have to look at that again. I placed her in front of me. Like if I was describing a rescue of somebody from the ocean to the beach, I would say I laid her down in the sand. I wouldn't say I placed her in front of me. That's just, that's nonsensical. That's not believable. I got her back to the beach and I laid her down in the sand in front of me.
Passed out several times. When I finally touched the ground
I
on
placed
the beach,
her in front of me.
I placed her in front of me. Reeby then says Sudiksha got up to grab her belongings and walked at an angle along the beach in knee-deep water. He says he asked if she was okay as she was walking away, but he never heard her answer because at that moment he started throwing up from all the seawater he says he swallowed while swimming to safety. When he finished vomiting, he looked up and says Sudiksha.
All right, we have some alliteration there. Salt water he swallowed while swimming to safety. There's some alliteration by this reporter, and I do appreciate it, and I acknowledge it. Salt water he swallowed while swimming to safety. That's hard to say. That's hard to say 5 times fast. We're going to hear it one more time just because I appreciate the alliteration.
The beach in knee-deep water. He says he asked if she was okay as she was walking away, but he never heard her answer because at that moment he started throwing up from all the seawater he says he swallowed while swimming to safety. When he finished vomiting, he looked up and says Sudiksha was gone. Reeby then says that he felt exhausted from that swim, so he laid down on a beach chair and fell asleep. It wasn't until the sun came up the next morning and he was being bit by mosquitoes that he said he woke up. This again, all from this transcript with investigators. The next time we would see Reeby on the surveillance video is right here, around 9:55.
9:55 a.m. He's coming back to the hotel.
a.m. as he is walking back to the hotel from the beach. You can see his shirt is off and he doesn't appear to have his shoes on. Then there's part of the report that needs a little more clarification. According to Noticias SIN, Reeby tells investigators when he returned to the hotel, he went to his friend's room to get his phone, then went to his own room to sleep. But then at the end of the interview, he says, quote, "The next day I found my things because I never picked them up, but someone had stolen my shoes and the key card to my room."
Dude, if you don't have the key card to your room, you don't get in your room at night. What the actual fuck? He didn't have his key card, but yet he got back to his room in the middle of the night or the early morning hours. No, you don't. And if it's in the middle of the night, like when they have the front door locked down, like 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., whatever hours they choose, you can't even get in the hotel without a key card. What the hell? I have so many questions about this.
Didn't he say that when he got back, he went to his friends and got his cell phone, then went to his room?
Yes, without his key card. How did he get into his room without his key card?
Mm-hmm.
Like if he's getting his stuff out of his friend's room, okay, he knocks on the door. He says, "Dude, I need my shit out of your room." His friend says, "Okay, here you go. Here's your shit. Come on in, get it." How does he get back into his room without his key card? That's not possible. God, I got so many questions about this case. And I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not like judging him guilty right now. I just have a shit ton of questions for this guy. Shit ton of questions.
He never mentions having to go to the lobby to get a new key. So there's the question there of how he was able to get into his room to then sleep. Then you have the
Exactly. Thank you. God, I should have been a TV reporter.
I knew they'd get to it. They're not all dumb. They do ask some pretty good questions from time to time, don't they?
final moment that he said he saw Sudiksha. He said that she went to go get her things walking at an angle in knee-high deep water before he started throwing up. Sudiksha's clothes were found on a beach chair by search crews this week. Reeby also said that Sudiksha was kissing him as they walked to the beach, and that's not something that we were able to see in the Noticias SIN surveillance video. Then comes the part of the interview where Reeby reportedly refuses to answer several questions. Investigators reportedly asked, "How can we verify what you said is true?" Reeby reportedly replied, "My lawyers advised me not to answer that question."
Okay, so this is a double-edged sword. How can you verify what you said is true? My lawyers advised me not to answer that question. So just because he doesn't want to answer that question does not make him guilty and does not implicate him in any way, shape, or form. We know that. And if you or I are innocent or guilty of any crime and we get called in for questioning, we should all lawyer up. Lawyer the fuck up. Guilty or innocent, lawyer the fuck up. That is the default answer to getting questioned by law enforcement. So just by the fact that he doesn't want to answer does not make him guilty to me at all. I don't blame him for this response.
And I will rely on them. Reeby reportedly used that response to several more questions in this interview with law enforcement. The questions included, quote, "What do you think about the disappearance? Did you know the young woman? Do you remember if the young woman made any gestures or screamed while in the sea? Did you report to authorities or the hotel what happened with you and the girl on the beach? Did you tell your friend what happened with you and the girl on the beach? All which the report says he answered, quote, "My lawyers advised me not to answer that question, and I will rely on them."
Exactly. Young black economist, exactly. It's not that he didn't answer these questions. It's the answers to the questions that he already provided that have me scratching my head and wanting to know more about this incident. And in all honesty, I'm like, he's sus. He's totally sus. That doesn't mean he's guilty, but he's sus, in my opinion.
The report said investigators told Reeby that he did have a right not to answer questions. He also said he didn't remember how long they were on the beach for because he didn't have his phone or how long they were in the water. Reeby said he was sleeping in his room when his friend asked if he had seen Sudiksha, and he said he hadn't and thought she had gone back to her room. It's important to note, once again, that Josh Reeby is not a suspect, and this is not a criminal investigation. And it does appear that he has been cooperative in the more than a week since.
Don't tell me he has been cooperative when he invoked his right to have an attorney. That's not cooperative.
He what? Why not? You just got you saying to make sure you get a lawyer.
Cooperative. He was partially cooperative.
Yeah. And then you, even when you get an attorney, you're still being cooperative. You just got to go through your attorney to have your questions asked. I know, right? I know. We hate ourselves for. So I get you. I get it, Joe. I get it. I promise. I know where you're going.
Since Sudiksha went missing. At the time of this recording, it appears he is still in the Dominican Republic. And we've seen video like this from Noticias SIN showing Reeby with investigators. And there are pictures of him speaking with police on the beach. Interpol, the international police agency, just issued a yellow notice for Sudiksha Konanki, which is a global alert that they put out for missing persons cases. Well, ABC News earlier this week put out a report saying that Dominican authorities believe that Sudiksha Konanki drowned in the ocean. Authorities have also said that they are not ruling out any possibility. Her father, who has traveled to the Dominican Republic from their home in Virginia, has called on authorities to do more to investigate the possibility of a kidnapping or an abduction. Joining us now to talk more about this is former NYPD detective and host of the Gold Shields podcast, Tom Smith. Always great to have you on Law and Crime. Interesting to read through this transcript that was first released to this Dominican television station. You've been in many interviews before, and when lawyers are present, again, he's not a suspect. He's just a witness, according to Dominican prosecutors. What stands out to you?
Yeah, you know what stands out is the detail that he remembers certain parts, but then when he gets pressed on other parts, he kind of deflects to his lawyer.
That's exactly my point. It's interesting that he will be responsive to certain questions, but on other questions, he deflects to his attorney. So that's the part where I say he's not, quote unquote, fully cooperative.
But what point did he get the attorney, and did those questions come after that attorney came?
It doesn't matter if they
I
ask him
understand
questions.
I get it.
Yeah. I have so many questions.
This guy is incredibly sus. I don't trust this guy. Y'all don't take me wrong. If I'm going to be fair about get an attorney, you need one, then I'm going to shame, like I have to go. I have to stick to my guns. So I don't find it, yes, it is very suspicious circumstances, and this guy's story is not adding up. But now they're going to go through the attorney to ask his questions. That's all.
Right. Well, if you stand behind your attorney and allow them to be your shield, then I don't feel like you're being, quote unquote, fully cooperative. That's just my opinion.
But there's other cases where you absolutely support defense attorneys in the fact that they need to get out.
I do.
I'm kind of confused about what you're saying.
Right. So, okay. So I think it's a separation of what is quote unquote fully cooperative versus what are your constitutional rights. You don't have the constitutional obligation to fully cooperate. So if you enact your right to have a defense attorney, then you are 100% constitutionally right in doing that. But that doesn't make you fully cooperative. And they're using the term very loosely, fully cooperative. If you enact your right to a defense attorney, which you have the right to do,
Okay. Yeah.
you
But
can't
a lot of times,
you can't also claim at the same time that you're quote unquote fully cooperative.
but sometimes the law enforcement makes those claims even if they don't believe it.
That's fine.
They're just,
That's fine.
But I get what you're
I'm
saying.
okay with
He is
that.
no longer, he stopped being fully cooperative the minute he lawyered up. Gotcha.
Exactly. Yes. That's my point. Thank you.
Yeah, I knew what the point
Which
was
to
all
me-
along. Just
But the conversation is good though. It's a productive conversation.
Is always a red flag, because if you're seriously concerned about someone you were with literally minutes or hours ago that is now missing, and you would have no involvement with it, you'd be more forthcoming. And that's not the case. He goes through just the details of the wave and pulling her out of the water, and then her kind of walking sideways, and then forgets everything else after that. That, to me, as an investigator that has done thousands of interviews, a red flag for me.
Yeah, because part of me looks and says he's in a foreign country, doesn't understand the laws there. You get a lawyer to help you, which is certainly your right. But it was like some of the I understand that there might be some civil action potentially one day down the line if maybe he didn't report it to the authorities of what had taken place on the beach. I mean, what could be the motive for not answering some of those specific questions that were put out in this interview?
Yeah, there could be a number of reasons. One, let's go with the innocent part, that he's scared. He doesn't want to get in trouble for something he didn't do. You know, you could get very wrapped up into leading an investigation in a certain direction by just your statements of pointing the finger at you. And let's just say that's not what the case is. But the other part is being involved in one way or another. Did she meet somebody else after that? Did someone else approach them? You know, those are all factors that are part of this investigation. And him being the only person in that area, as you know, to this day that we know of, you know, his testimony, his interview, and his statements are very, very important. So if you're not involved, you would want to do everything you could and say everything you could to help the investigation, not deflect to your lawyer, which he did towards the end of this.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well, because the questions were, it was like, when did you tell your friend about what happened? I think was one of the questions, which seems like a pretty, you know, with the X's and O's of the day and what took place. And now too, when I look at the timeline, because originally.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like the questions that are asked of him and the ones that he's willing to provide answers to and the ones that he's not willing to provide answers to, I think are telling. I mean, we'll find out, but this is a good point. Like, what is he willing to answer and what is he not willing to answer is telling.
Originally, and a lot was through media reports. ABC News has that last week that this was going to be investigated, likely as a drowning, that they had been taken away by a big wave. And then that seemed to be the point that we lacked.
And by the way, he just mentioned drowning. So this is still just a missing persons case in the Dominican Republic in Punta Cana. It's still just a missing persons case. It is not a homicide or anything like felonious case. Yeah.
He last saw her. Now it's this image that he laid out of he was getting sick. He, right before he threw up, looked up and saw her walking away in knee-deep water, and then that's it. If you're an investigator, how do you approach that? Because that seems to open up a whole new world of possibility of what potentially happened after.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go into, you know, creating a timeline. One of the first things I thought of and growing up sometimes down the Jersey Shore as a kid was, what was the tide like What was the ocean like at that time? And you can pinpoint whether it's high tide, low tide, or whatever it might have been, the history.
Salty, tell us about the tide in the Gulf.
You don't want to play around in it. It literally all summer long, I'm going to have people die on my beach, and I already know it's coming. It's coming during spring break, I guarantee it. The undercurrent, the undertows, the rip currents will get you in the Gulf, and if you're not familiar with them or how to swim out of them, even the most seasoned swimmers have a hard time swimming out of them, and you have to know how to do it. There's not like I can just swim straight to shore. You have to swim at an angle with the current until you can finally make your way back to the beach. Those of us who live here are taught this growing up on the beach, but it's going to happen. They're going to get out there and they're going to see red flags everywhere, and they're going to ignore them, and they're going to go in that water anyway. And when the Gulf is angry, she's angry. And I respect the hell out of that Gulf. I've always called it the Gulf. So I don't care if it's Mexico or America anymore. I'm not going to get into that. It's the Gulf to me. But it's a very dangerous situation. And we have party goers out here at spring break. They crack down on that shit at Pensacola Beach. Like, they don't even want you there. Take that nonsense. That Panama City's sick of it. Actually, to be honest, the entire Gulf Coast is tired of spring breakers, because not only are they drowning in our beaches, they're getting raped in crowds of people while they're all passed out drunk. They're jumping and falling off balconies. They're slamming into buildings on these little parachute ride things they do. You wouldn't believe the amount of accidents and deaths that occur around beach communities during tourist season. Because people won't listen. They know better.
And
The hell with that red flag.
Imagine the regulations in Dominican Republic are going to be like a fourth of the regulations in Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of big waves in that area. You know, there's some resorts, as you know, that don't have, you know, that ocean-like feeling of a regular beach with the tide. So that's going to be part of it. You know, and then the other interviews are going to be very important in this. With, like you just mentioned, who did he talk to afterwards? What did he act like? What was his demeanor? You know, those are going to be all compelling factors when it comes to creating even more of a timeline with this. But it's going to be interesting going forward, especially with other interviews that are going to be conducted about how he acted, what he said, you know, what his actions were afterwards.
One other piece, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, because I know people are circling it as part of the transcript that's been released through these media reports, is the fact he says he went to his room and went to sleep, but then later says that his key card had gotten stolen from the room. Like, that to me is like something there needs to be more.
Yeah, I just want, young black economist, I'm not taking up for this guy in any way, hun. And I don't think, he's very shady. But when I say I don't have a problem with the lawyering up thing, how can I say that? I can't call him out for that if in other cases I expect people to get a lawyer. You see what I'm saying? That's where I stand on certain things. If I'm going to go call constitutional, it's for everybody, not for one versus another. So I don't have a problem with the guy getting a lawyer at some point during the process, because it doesn't matter in the end. If there's evidence against him, there's evidence against him, right? And we have seen in past cases, there are times they do go after the wrong person. You know, that's a huge debate right now in Idaho. It's a huge debate in Delphi. It's going to be a debate in all kind of cases. But you still have your basic rights. As long as they're met, we're good to go. Now we need to figure out if this guy did something or not. And it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound good on him right now. I think we all agree on that. Honestly, from what I'm seeing in chat, I think everybody is suspicious. But at the same time, we have to give him the same benefits we give other people in other cases. That's just where I'm coming from it. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, he's got some seriously sus things that he's got to explain.
And later says that his key card had gotten stolen from the room. Like that.
So after he got to his room, then he claimed his key card was stolen. Dude, Ain't
Yeah, when
nobody
you start
buying
making
that
up
story.
bizarre, no, you're making up stories, you're changing your story, you got a lot of issues going on here. You needed that
Yeah.
damn lawyer.
Yep.
That to me is like something there needs to be more clarification. And again, this is a missing persons case, but just as a story's being laid out, how do you get into your room if you don't have your key card? And then he doesn't mention like going to a hotel lobby like everybody has in the past when you lose your room key.
Right. And that goes into, my way of thinking with this is we've had this conversation on your show with other cases. When crimes are committed, not saying he is, but just generally, when situations occur and crimes are committed, to give your initial alibi of what happened sometimes is very easy. You come up with a story, you stick to it. There's no one else around, so there's no one to dispute it. But then when you start getting questioned about actions that take place afterwards, you're not prepared for those questions. And that's when, people get tied up with their statements.
I think actually that's a really good point in this case. Like, you have your alibi, you present your alibi, but then they start asking you questions about what happens afterwards, and you get kind of like crossed up. I want to replay that because that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, and young black icon, I think we were talking about the current because of the fact that people have died in that area under those circumstances. But I get you.
Yes.
I mean, I do understand where you're coming from, but we're not suggesting that's what happened to her, because and I agree with another commenter who said, I forget who was it, Truth maybe. If you swim out of a rip current or you come out of the ocean regardless during a near-death experience, you're not going to go right back in.
No, and you
Like
don't
she's
get
not gonna
out of
she's not gonna walk down that beach and decide, well, I'm just gonna go right back out there all by myself now. Bullshit. You're too exhausted. You got to sit the fuck down. Like he said, you should be worn out. You should be throwing up. So why is she walking down the beach to collect your stuff if he was having such a hard time, getting her back to shore and trying to make sure she was breathing? You can't tell me that girl had the full capacity to get up and walk down to her belongings at that point.
Committed, to give your initial alibi of what happened sometimes is very easy. You come up with a story, you stick to it. There's no one else around, so there's no one to dispute it. But then when you start getting questioned about actions that take place afterwards, you're not prepared for those questions. And that's when, people get tied up with their statements of what happened after events, when they start to get questioned, because people can't anticipate detectives questioning or investigators questions, when they're kind of thinking of their alibi. And that might be the case here. And that's why follow-up interviews are going to be very, very important with this. Even if his lawyer's there, having to lay out what you think you have and maybe some additional evidence that you can throw at him to see how he reacts to it.
I also wonder too, because he talks about that she went to go get her things and she was in knee-high water, but then her clothes were found on the beach. That to me is just something that's I found that surprising. I mean, you're the former detective. I'm just kind of like sitting back and like reading this, and it's like that's interesting because they found this piece of clothing, and then I also think of he goes and falls asleep on the beach.
Truth exposed. If she did walk off, why did she leave her clothes there and walk off the beach naked? They found her clothes on the beach. And I didn't bring that up in this like series of videos, but he's kind of talking about it right now. But say you take off all your clothes, you go skinny dipping in the ocean, you go make out with the dude. You're going to come back to the beach and leave your clothes there and just walk off buck naked. Yeah, that's not just odd. That's like unbelievable is what it is.
Where that was it sounded like a pretty traumatic event that he had gone through, having to drag her out of the water. I mean, it sounds like it was a near-death experience. And then it's kind of like, well, I'm just going to fall asleep on the beach and then go inside.
You're absolutely right. And that's what I mean by putting actions, into words and theories into what you're hearing from a witness or someone that might have been involved in something. think about, my view of it is he is so key on the particulars of her being out of the water. That is a key part in all his statements. We got out of the water. She was walking in the water. She went to get her things. So his initial thought is, I have to make it, she's got to be out of the water, so I can assume she's okay, so I can go do what I want. And that might not be the case with this. And that's why, follow-ups and timelines and other people's accounts of how he was afterwards. We don't know if all that is true, that he went back to his room and all that. And other people's accounts of when they saw him and what's going to be said afterwards are going to be a key part in this investigation. This is a difficult one. This is really tough because of just two people being in a secluded place by themselves, and one of them's missing.
Right. That's the perfect point. That's the exact point. This is a difficult one because it's two people together on the beach in the middle of the night, and one of them has a story about what happened to the other one who we can't find. So this is a difficult one, but I have a difficult time following and believing his story at this point. I do. I have a hard time believing his story.
I think we all do. I mean, I think we all do. And just because we're discussing other possible things doesn't mean we're trying to make this guy look good. I think you're misunderstanding that a little bit, young black economists. I don't think any of us here are trying, setting out to make this guy look better. There's no making him look better. We went through the possible scenarios and pretty much to rule those out, right? Because this guy is so sketch. None of his stories adding up. It makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense. And what's going to be weird is what happens with it being in the Dominican Republic. If he does get charged, then how is the trial going to go down, and how is that different from if he were going to be tried in the US? I'm curious about that. I'm super curious about that.
And one of them gets to tell a story.
I think too, he's still in the Dominican Republic, so he's been cooperative to the point that he hasn't gone home, which I think there would be a concern of how that would look if he was to leave the country. But I mean, at this point, given the statements he's given, if you're the Dominican authorities, and I know this might be more Dominican law, I mean, would he theoretically be free to go home? I mean, I'm sure at this point it's been more than a week since you went missing. His spring break would have been done by now.
Yeah, I would think so. Not knowing Dominican law, but I would think so because, a person of interest doesn't mean suspect. It just means that person has an interest in the investigation because he was the last one seen with her. And that's a big distinction between suspect and just person of interest. So if it's still at that level, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be free to go, on his own.
What are your thoughts on the Loudoun County, Virginia sheriff being the one to put out person of interest? I know they've sent deputies to help, and she's from the Washington, D.C. area. Because I think on one hand, while there's a lot of questions about his timeline and his story that he's been laying out, at the same time, it's a missing persons case. The Dominican authorities who are there are calling him a witness, but then you have the sheriff that puts out person of interest and clarified it wasn't a suspect. But I just feel like when you say person of interest, suddenly everybody's, your ears perk up and you start wondering if there's more going on here.
Absolutely right. And you got to be really careful with that, and that may have been a slip up or whatever it might have been. But when you start labeling people that are part of an investigation, you have to be very careful of what you're saying and how you're titling them. We've seen many times that backfires. Sometimes it plays out and it goes in another direction, but a lot of times it backfires and you end up, facing a lawsuit or something like that. So anyone on any law enforcement level is always very careful on how you're labeling witnesses or people of interest or suspects.
Where does this investigation go from here? He's not a suspect. He's considered a witness.
He's not a suspect. He's considered a witness.
Yeah.
Is he really? if you're Loudoun County or you're Dominican Republic, is he really just a quote unquote witness? Is he really?
Maybe
No,
gave
and
some inconsistent
they have
statements.
two different views on it. They just said that, and they just clearly define the difference between person of interest and suspect.
Exactly. Yep.
And I can agree with the comment that Semi Sharp made, and I think that Miss Shorty does too. Did she ever make it back to shore? I wondered that too. Did he even get her to shore? No, probably not.
It definitely is not credible that he put her under his arm, trying to keep her breathing while he's dragging her to shore, gets her to shore, and she gets up and goes and gathers her clothes and wanders off.
Okay, maybe, and this is just a theory for discussion's sake, because I'm in true crime and I discuss all sorts of theories related. So what if they did go into the water and they were hit by this big wave and he couldn't save her and she did not resurface and he gets back to shore and he's freaked out. So now he's going to make up some stupid lie, which doesn't make any sense. That makes you look worse. All you had to do was go get help and say, we just were on the beach and this girl, I can't find her now. That would have made way more sense and plausible. There was no reason to lie about it. There's no reason to make up a story about it. If that's really what happened, right? Did he get out there and injure her somehow in the water? And that's what caused him to freak out if he never got her back to shore. Because I'm just thinking now that if I go with she never got back to shore, why the hell is this dude doing all this weird stuff after that, when you could have easily said, we were out there, got hit by the wave, accident happened, now I can't find her, please come help me search for her. Right? It's weird.
It's really weird. It's really weird. Like,
yeah, Dizzy, he could not remember. I mean, because he says that it took so long for him to get back to shore, and he gets back to shore and he's tired and all this, and he's collapses on the beach basically. And then when he woke up, he still could have went and said to somebody, hey, I was sitting at the beach last night and this girl, I don't know where she's at now. I don't know. Oh, I know you're not defending him. Me either. We're going to be taken the wrong way though, aren't we?
Yeah, we got to look at all aspects of the case.
You really do. You do, because you never know. I mean, this guy's whole story is starting to be really super sketch though.
Yes, totally. The more I hear, the more I don't believe. Like, honestly, the more I hear, I don't believe.
Yeah.
And maybe he's just a bad witness. They were drinking that night. He doesn't remember things, and he's trying to piece together what happened. And if that's the case, and your authorities, you have this missing girl, and the last thing was seen was her just kind of walking off into the darkness, what do you do?
The last thing I saw was just her walking up into the darkness, for real?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the FBI gets involved or any role they may have in this, because it is a U.S. citizen missing in another country. So they do have the authority to at least look into it or start a preliminary investigation and be part of the information sharing that's going on there to see if they can have any role in that. And if they do, what is that going to be? Are they going to start interviewing people or re-interviewing people, visit the area and things like that? So it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses and if they do have an interest or a role in this going forward.
In your experience with the NYPD, have you been part of international investigations like this? I mean, I know there's a huge, many different Caribbean nations in New York City have populations where you worked.
Well, when I was in the Joint Terrorism Task Force, I ran a lot of investigations overseas with other governments and other security agencies. And for the most part, I can say we got along very well and the information sharing was always good. And I don't see any reason this wouldn't be as well. Sometimes they're guarded in what they say, and it takes a little longer to get information from certain countries, sure, because they have to, keep their interests in mind as well with tourism and not putting out that there's a big problem.
So speaking of tourism, I'm going to say this one more time. There was somebody on Publicly Buzzed's tweet, and my response to the tweet about give me proof that there is evidence of any kidnapping, sexual trafficking type of things that happened at all in Dominican Republic. And I Googled it, and literally in like 5 minutes, I had like 10 cases of sex trafficking, kidnapping, like type of things going on in Dominican Republic. It's a problem, and that may not be what happened here, and it actually kind of looks like it's not what happened here, but don't come at me and ask me for facts. And when I give you facts, yeah. Dominican Republic is like a dangerous place. Like they have been placed on different countries. Beware of visiting, beware of tourism in this area type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did we just lose that for real? Oh no.
What'd you lose?
I lost my playlist. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. We'll get back.
My cat doesn't like me having a phone in my hand. She does not like it at all. She wants all my she's trying right now so hard to get my attention, and I'm ignoring her. She's like, no, she's gonna lay down. She was trying to push my phone away.
She's like, Joe doesn't have his playlist up.
Right. She's like, put that phone down.
All right. If the audio drops out on this, I'm gonna mic drop out. Present, share screen.
I don't see any reason this wouldn't be as well. Is sometimes they're guarded in what they say, and it takes a little longer to get information from certain countries, sure, because they have to, keep their interests in mind as well with tourism and not putting out that there's a big problem when it comes to things like this. So I understand that part, but for my experience working overseas in other countries, I've always had a good experience with security agencies or other governments sharing information.
From what we were able to see, this was about a 50-question interview, 6 pages. All we've been able to look at is the media reports that are coming out from those who have the transcript. But of the questions that were asked, what do you make of how prosecutors and law enforcement are approaching the questions to Josh Reeby?
Yeah, I think it was methodical. I think you just go step by step in where you think it started, what you were aware of happening, and then a lot of your follow-up questions go by and are based on the answers. So you could have a lot of things written down as far as questions that you want to ask, but depending on the answer is going to fuel your next question. So I think the questions just kind of lined up with what they know at this moment and kind of leave an open door into follow-up questioning and interviews with any other information they may gather from other people or, other surveillance videos or whatever it may be.
So that's a good point. Said the questions so far have lined up with what they know, but it also opens up the door to questions based upon what they might find out in the near future.
Maybe to have a follow-up interview with him.
Typically, what is the strategy that, just in your experience and being on the other side of the table, what the strategy is of an attorney to not have their client answer a question? Because at least from the peanut gallery, you see it and you're like, that's suspicious. But why would they not have them answer certain questions?
Well, whatever the case is, the attorney has to represent his client, whether you like it or not, that's his job. So if a question gets asked that they hadn't gone over, or hadn't touched on, they're going to kind of push it to the side. Oh, we're not going to answer that until the attorney understands what the answer is going to be. Most of the time, a lot of those answers, the attorney already knew what he was going to say. So if you get a question that you aren't prepared for, you're not going to have your client answer it until you speak to them and get the answer yourself before he starts talking to investigators. That's pretty common.
How long could this investigation go? I mean, as far as the attention, the FBI being involved, U.S. authorities being involved, searching a beach, looking, if she is not found, whether it's her washing ashore or maybe she's still alive and something happened that would explain everything that we have going on. But if we're still kind of in this place where we don't know where she is, there's not a lot of evidence that's coming out. The person of interest appears to, maybe he's just a bad witness, doesn't remember what happened after she left. And we're kind of still in this place. How long could this go for?
Yeah, it could just stay open. It could stay an active investigation because of what it is, or it could just be an accident. It could be a missing persons that is just a missing persons with no end time to it. It all depends on follow-up things that go on with the investigation of, is there just a flat out dead end in this? Is there?
That's a really good point. This is still a missing persons case, and he is not a suspect. He is a person of interest according to the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. But it is just a missing persons case at this point.
Is there no criminal activity that's being found that can lead to a furtherance of an investigation? Or is it simply an accident and she drowned and is in the ocean? Any of those are possible, but there's no need to quote unquote just close the case because of the time that it's open. So that it could stay theoretically open for a very, very long time.
I know Interpol has put out, it calls it a yellow notice, which is for missing people. What's your experience with Interpol when you've dealt with them, and what those type of notices can mean for investigations like this?
Interpol. So this is the Interpol status of her as a missing person.
Yeah, we worked with them quite often. There's different colors of different notices depending on what it is you're looking for. Red, blue, yellow. And all that is sort of an alert, kind of a be on the lookout for. So airports are
Bolo, be on the lookout for.
Notified, bus terminal, anything to do with international travel. And the information about this girl will be out there. Her picture, her description, where she was last seen, all things like that. And it's kind of an Amber Alert, sort of on an international level.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's been more than a week. Certainly hope that there can be, in some ways, closure for the family, or maybe some grand explanation for all of this will come to light. But it's getting a lot of attention. Former NYPD Detective Tom Smith, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Chris. Thank you.
All right, Salty. There's a lot packed into that case.
Yeah, is there or isn't there? I agree with some of the comments that maybe she didn't make it back to shore at all. And what happened to that is, like, why would this guy? People do crazy things, and like even Steve Gonzalez said in his interview the other day, sometimes we can't make sense of some of this no matter how hard we try. His story is not adding up. It doesn't make sense, but if she never made it back to shore, why say she did? Because it's too easy to verify. It's too easy to say she never made it back to shore, because then it would look like an accident, right? And it probably was if that happened. But it doesn't make any sense for him to say he pulled her back to shore if he really didn't. Is he trying to make himself look better? You know what I mean? He's building his own self up. But then you add in that she just walked down the beach to go collect her things. But you're so distraught from what just happened, you're passing out and puking, but she had enough, was able to collect herself enough to walk down the beach. None of it makes any sense. And I also agree with the statement about this girl did not fit the profile for trafficking at all. Hold on, I got to mute out for a second. Sorry.
You're all right. You're all right. This is a case that packs a lot of punch, especially after Jordan Vandersloot, especially after that, because we're all like hypersensitive to what happened in that case. It's so disturbing. His story doesn't, what gets me is his story does not make sense. Like, if he did unalive her, why would he not just claim that she and they went out into the ocean and she got carried away and didn't make it back? Why would he claim that they did make it back, but there's no proof or evidence that she did make it back? It's a story that makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't, Miss J, I don't know that he's changed his story because I haven't seen 3 different versions of his story, but I definitely have seen a version of his story that doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you unalive somebody, and whether you unalive them in the ocean and you just let the current carry them away, or you unalive them somewhere else, why would you claim that you both struggled to make it back to shore, but you did both make it back to shore? It doesn't make sense.
Hey, Joe, I got to drop out. I got to go take care of something.
Let's go. All right. No,
yeah,
let's
thanks
end
for
it.
having me on.
We're done. We're done for today, for this morning. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you, Salty. I appreciate everybody in chat.
Yeah, thanks a lot, chat, for
Pokemon.
being here. Everybody hit that like button.
Forrest, we'll catch you later. Take care, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. Hope you got your cup of joe and filled up your morning with good things to know. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Good morning, thanks for saying